What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome. What happens when two very sharp Dynasty players meet with an adequately above average Dynasty player and try to put their heads together and draft the perfect team using three individual Dynasty fantasy football strategies? The answer is I have no clue. But tonight, we're going to find out. Of course, this is Dynasty Points. This is Tuesday night. We love and appreciate every single person watching. If you're watching on X, please head over to youtube.com/FantasyPoints and hit that subscribe button. It helps us immensely. Our families need to eat, and we can't do that without all of you. Of course, we have a ton of stuff to touch on. This is not just a mock draft. This is the mock draft. And I know that the people listening are going to go, well, you guys did a mock draft. How am I supposed to see? The beauty of this is we are going to give you more than just I am going to pick player A, not player B. You are going to get the same in-depth Dynasty Points breakdowns in mock draft format. So, of course, you can always head over to the YouTube channel if you want to follow along. Anyway, chat, you can get involved. I know some people were asking us if this is going to be a sub mock draft. That is an idea we can have for another show. I wasn't expecting as many people to ask me if they can hop in. That can be a content idea for another day. We would love to do that. Today, though, I am absolutely stoked. I am your host with the most time on his hands. My name is Thomas Tipple. You can find me at El Nostra Thomas. And my fun fact of the day is that in 1 week from today, it will be my 26th year living in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Exciting. My name is Jakob Sanderson. My fun fact for this week is that Tom and I will be seeing each other in person this Friday, celebrating the wedding social. And I'll get back to that in 1 second. The original co-host of our little podcast that we made about our league back in the day, Mr. Austin Coombs. So shout out Austin Coombs. We'll be getting married shortly. For those who do not know, the fun fact number 2 or 1B is that a wedding social is a Manitoba tradition in which people throw a party for all their friends to come out and effectively pay for their wedding. So that's the thing that we do in Manitoba. There will be rye bread, perhaps. There'll be kubasa, perhaps. We'll see.
Definitely.
There'll be dancing, certainly. And we'll have a good time. So those are my fun facts.
A lot of Crown Royal is going to go down that night. Mostly probably from me, but a lot.
I'm right now realizing I have no idea where Manitoba is. I think it was Ron Stewart that tweeted earlier this week saying that he wouldn't be surprised if White Walkers inhabited Saskatchewan or whatever. That I'm kind of on that wavelength with him now.
What the fuck?
Ron, if you're out there
so
listening,
ridiculous. You Americans are the most self-centered, fucking self-absorbed, narcissistic fucks. Any person in Canada knows where every state is. I could name you all 50 state capitals. I could draw every state on a map. I know what half your fucking slogans are. Oh, Mississippi. Oh, it's the Magnolia State. Yeah. And you don't even know where Manitoba is. We don't have that many provinces. We have a couple of territories and a couple of provinces. How about you keep them straight? Jesus. Maybe you look around and see what's out there in the world. Otherwise, you're going to elect Trump.
Oh, my God.
America. What a country.
So, yeah, I'm with Ron Stewart right now in my ignorance. Yeah, I'm Ryan Heath. You can find me on Twitter at RyanJ_Heath. And my fun fact is that this show tonight pulled me away from writing up a Greg Dortch blurb. So that's where we're at in best ball season right now. And I'm kind of relieved to talk Dynasty for a little bit now.
Round 18 God, Greg Dortch. We like
on DraftKings.
We light we like the Dortch here at Fantasy Points. Sean's all about the Jakob Sanderson early rant.
Yes. I'm legit crying right now about that. I can't.
Ferris says, "Hold strong, Rob Stock. A dark winter is coming." Thea says, "I'm from Vancouver. I don't know where Manitoba is."
You could try living somewhere relevant. That might help a little bit.
I live in Vancouver right now.
I don't know why he's all up in arms. This is a Javante thing again. He's all up in arms.
Oh my god.
He's defending. Okay, so before we get
we have an NHL team.
Before we get into the actual draft, as I mentioned, we have 3 different people about to give 3 very different approaches in this draft. And what I want to do is kind of get a base understanding. Now, Jacob, some key words that I just used there was quick and short. I know these 2 words are outside of your general vocabulary, but let's try to get a quick version of what your initial draft strategy is. I'm going to get the same thing from Ryan. I'll give a little, and then we'll decide what spot we want to draft from. So chat, if you have a specific spot you want us to draft from in this 3rd round reversal, Superflex PPR, tight end premium mock draft, leave it in the comments and we will take that into consideration. So Jacob, as quick as you can give us, what is your baseline draft strategy when you head into a room that is completely unknown?
Number 1, you look at the league settings. This is legitimately the most underrated draft strategy in Dynasty. If people don't pay attention to the scoring settings, then they just go in with whatever their baseline mindset of what they want to do. So that's number 1. You go check. What's the tight end premium? How many roster spots are there? Are there funky first down settings? Anything like that that makes you change what your normal approach would be? And then if there are, you think about what would be the ways that this would really shift from a normal league where I think there might be inefficiencies if people just draft not according to those settings. Second, I look around, I see who's in my league, right? Maybe you don't know anybody. If you do know some people, you might get a decent idea of whether you think there's going to be people that are going to be more productive struggle oriented, more win now oriented, whether they're going to be a bunch of 0 RB bros, whether they're not. That's going to be one thing that you want to try and tailor. And then really the first probably 2 to 3 rounds, I try to just draft, really just based on value. I don't try to think about win now. I don't try to think about win later. I just, any pick, I'm open to trading up. I'm open to trading down. I want to be in conversations and I want to see what the draft leaves me. And then once those first few picks are there, it's a little bit less about my team and it's a little bit more about surveying the draft economy of, is this a super quarterback heavy run, that we need to worry about? Is this a draft where everybody's trying to get future picks? Everybody's trying to move future picks. And then the rest of the draft is just about trying to, if I'm trying to compete in, the way that sort of works within this draft economy and presses whatever edges I can. And otherwise, just trying to swerve against the grain as much as I can, where kind of whatever the draft is willing to leave me, that's what I'm willing to take.
No, I think that's all pretty dang smart. Ryan, how do you approach a draft room where you know absolutely nobody?
Yeah, Jacob pretty much covered all the kind of 5,000 foot level overview stuff. Agree with all of that.
He often does.
Yeah. So he's very good at that, I've noticed. So I would say going into a draft, especially if I don't know anybody, as Jacob said, yes, not trying to do anything crazy within the first 2 or 3 rounds. I'm just observing, trying to observe the behavior, see kind of what everyone else is doing and react accordingly later on in the draft. If I go in with any rule of thumb, quote unquote, before the draft starts in a super flex format, it is usually I would like to get a quarterback within the first 3 rounds, preferably within the first 2 rounds, just because, yes, theoretically, you can play all these games and patch together production at the position depending on the build you're trying to do. But my least favorite thing to do in Dynasty is go out and try to trade for a quarterback after the startup. It is such a pain Nobody wants to send you their quarterback unless you're sending them one back. And usually if you're trying to upgrade, you're going to be overpaying on value there. So I just like to get it over with, get at least my one elite anchor quarterback just in the startup draft, so I don't have to worry about it. And that really goes doubly if I don't know anyone in the league. I don't know how active it's going to be. I'm really trying to make sure I cover that base first and foremost, so that I'm not having an awful time getting my team off the ground whenever I decide that needs to happen.
I love that. I think it opens you up to some really good options. I'll say for myself, I am not overcommitting to the second QB. If I am at a position in a draft where, especially in a room I don't know, I am heavily trusting what ADP, and for reference, today's ADP and where I'm drafting all non-user teams will come straight from Dynasty Data Lab, because I do not trust sleeper ADP. I've said this quite a bit. I'm going to trust in that and then get a feel very quickly in the first 2 rounds where we're sitting. Do I know? I'm willing, if I'm in a situation, to draft Kyler well ahead of what his ADP is to ensure that I get him if I don't know the room. Okay with him being my QB1 and absolutely punting the position if it is a strong run. I go into drafts completely expecting long runs at awkward times. And what that is I'm automatically going into a draft assuming the worst, that there's going to be an abundance of wide receivers going way before I want them to, so I won't get a chance to have them, and a bunch of quarterbacks going way earlier than I want to have to draft them. What this does is it allows me to, in my head, plan ahead for the pivot and then figure out how I'm going to get around the pivot should it need to happen. That way, when you're at home or you're at work and it's an 8 to 10 hour clock and you haven't checked the draft in 4 hours and you look and you go, oh no, my entire queue is gone. Panic mode. Gonna draft the lowest tiered nesting doll wide receiver around ahead of ADP. And then you're kicking yourself 2 rounds later and everyone has posted a sign on your forehead that says, kick me. You don't want to be that guy in that situation. So that's what I do first and foremost. I would say the second thing is get to know your draft room immediately. Immediately start sending DMs to everybody. Ask them what's up. Ask them what they think they're going to do. Let them know that you're willing to deal. The one thing I'll also note, because we're not going to be able to do it, is trading down at every pick is optimal. But now everyone knows that trading down is optimal and it's become a lot harder. I'm not going to be like, well, ideally I'd like to trade down here, because obviously we want to trade down here most of the time. We're not going to get to do that. So I'm just going to get that out of the way, so it's not said later.
I used to be like a trade down guy. Now I would consider myself just a trade guy. Like, I think the key is, like, you want to be the one manipulating the draft board. I don't really want to be the one just sticking and picking at my slot. Like, whatever you do, I think the key is to really be dynamic throughout the draft, where you want to be thinking about how the larger economy of the draft is functioning and how your trades fit within that. You want to be taking advantage of any chance. If you can be really observant of how the trade economy is functioning, and if you can get trade ups that are cheaper than other people are trading up, if you can get trade downs a little bit better. And then you want to be thinking too about, you want to have a good feel for the ADP of the draft, and you want to kind of know where do I want to be drafting what positions at ADP in what portions of the draft. And then how you play those early rounds, how do you set yourself up to be picking in spots that you think are favorable, where you're more likely to get the end of your tier breaks, and where if you need a certain position, you've positioned your later picks to be in a good spot to grab that position. And you want to be doing that before everybody else realizes it. Like, I'm in a couple of drafts right now. I'm in one Devy draft right now where I think, like, we're in the 8th round. I think I've already made 7 trades. I made my first pick when I was on the clock. Every other pick that I have made since that time, and actually every pick of mine starting from my second pick all the way through round 12, none of them are being made in my original draft slot. I'm moving everywhere. I moved up to get a second first round pick. I didn't pick it all in the 2nd or 3rd. I picked twice in the 4th. I picked twice in the 5th. I didn't pick in the 6th. I picked twice in the 7th. Like, it's all over the place. And a lot of that is just if you can kind of grind some of the edges, if you can pick your spots and get your tier breaks, I think you can really be proactive. And you want to be looking around 2 rounds ahead. What position group do I want to be picking there? Where's the end of that tier break? Can I get out of this pick for that? What if there's a pick I don't think I want that is 3 rounds away? Can I find a way to move that pick out of there ahead of time before I come on the clock and everybody realizes nobody wants to be stuck picking there? It's a constant process. I think you want to be dynamic and you want to be vigilant.
Yeah, it's important, and not everyone can. Like, that's a very specific. I know there are some guys that when the draft starts, they are sending the same trade to 10 different managers because they have the time to do that. We understand not everybody can, but like Jacob said, like, that is a really good point in being hyperactive in your drafts. I think that's a good lead in, and it's a great start. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm going to fire up this draft board and have to remove a bunch of picks that are going to auto pick. And then we are going to obviously go from there. So sit tight, quick break, and we come back. It is draft time. All right, here we go. So here is our draft. Remember that we are drafting off of the Dynasty Data Lab ADP. And it is, of course, 3rd round reversal. As mentioned, I just have to edit that filter in here. It's already accounted for. This is ADP for the last month. So May 11th to June 11th is what we are drafting off of. I am excited. Let's see what the chat has said. For spots, I suggest 2nd, 7th, and 11th. I like that. We have 7th or 8th after the top 4 QBs and a top couple wide receivers, maybe a curveball or 2. Ferris wants 11, and I think that's it for now. Also, Brian says, Ryan, you're probably going to go Wicks 101. We understand that you're moving the needle, but that might be a little bit drastic. That's not even a word.
What's our decision-making process here, by the way? Is this a majority vote? Is this a ranked ballot? Is this what is our tripart decision-making process?
I'm going to say duel to the death is probably how it's going to go. I expect us to actually make it through 3 rounds with how much we're probably going to dispute some of these picks. But I think we'll end up going majority. I think we'll just have to fight until there's one person standing with their pick, which is going to be very difficult for Ryan and I as we are doing battle with a known lawman. This might get difficult. So far, I think the most common answer is 7th. So I think 7th is going to be
7 works.
Our spot. Personally, it's one of my favorite spots with 3rd round reversal. I think that's another part of it that we didn't talk about is where are you drafting? Because for me, if it's 3rd round reversal, I do not want a top 6 pick. Give me 8 or 9 specifically because it helps me avoid runs. But it is my favorite setup because most of the time, the player that I want in the 2nd round is generally always there unless I know someone in the room is going to absolutely nerf me for it. But like even 10 is like a really good spot. Pick 12 right now is nightmare fuel to me, and we'll talk why.
Yeah, I still want to be top 3.
Interesting.
I still want to get one of the top 3 players. I think there's enough of separation after 3 that I'm content to pick there. But once those 3 are gone, then I agree. I've kind of mathed it out of how each of these slots work out next to my base pick system, and it's pretty flat. There's not that much of a difference when you add in the 3rd round reversal, to the point where I then prefer being in the middle because it allows me to manipulate the draft board best. It's just easier when you're trying to do trades to be having, a pick in the middle of every round versus picks that are just back to back on the edges. It's easier to avoid these big runs in between your picks. Like for me, it's all about opportunities to move around the draft board, and I'm viewing these picks largely as just the capital by which I'm going to do that. So it's easier to do, I think, if you're picking 5, 6, 7, 8 than if you're at one of the ends. But all things considered, if I have the chance to draft Allen Mahomes Stroud, I'm going to do that.
Stroud at 3.
I
Ryan,
went 1 in my most recent startup.
Ryan, you recently, I'm going to take a 7 here. I'm going to hit the button. You recently talked on the app, formerly known as Twitter, about kind of pylon quarterback ADPs. And one thing I did a little bit of diving is CJ Stroud was just a couple interceptions away from Trevor Lawrence. So let's talk about his ADP and where he sits and everything that you talked about previously as I hit start to this draft.
Yeah, I mean, anything I said on Twitter today would have been more geared toward redraft and just kind of comparing his ADPs with other pocket passers that project similarly this year. In Dynasty, obviously, the conversation is a little bit different just in terms of career-long upside for a player like Stroud. So I am mostly with Jacob. I prefer to pick near the top of the draft for most of the same reasons. I would just say I absolutely hate being on the turn. On either turn. The 12 is worse, though. And the reason for that is I find myself like thinking I can affect the runs or thinking that I can be the one to push the roam in a certain direction. Like if I double tap a position, and it almost never works like that. But I just, for myself, I find I make a lot more mistakes when I'm on the turn and thinking I have more control of the room than I do. And then, of course, as Jacob alluded to, a lot harder to trade when you're on the turn just because of the distance between your picks. You're kind of trying to claw into the middle of rounds. It's just very difficult to be an active drafter and an active trader from those spots.
I don't hate it that much because I'll just find a way to get off the turn pretty fast. Like I'll just figure out whatever trades I need to make to not be picking there. But it's definitely aggravating at the start. I definitely prefer to avoid it.
I think it gives you, I think what it can give you is the better shot at being the high end of a tier rather than being forced to pick a player at the bottom of that tier. I think it just kind of, for me, tier breaks, you're better off towards the end for setting the new standard of what that tier is rather than have to pick up more of the, say, scraps of that tier, at least early. What I have found is late, though, you really have to make a flag stance and plant it through some of these guys at later rounds, which we'll get into when we get there. We're looking at 1-7. This is an easy pick for me. So far, we have Mahomes, Allen, Stroud, then Hurts, Lamar, and Jefferson off the board 1 through 6. We're sitting at 7. This is a super easy decision for me, but I want to get Ryan and Jacob here first. And chat, you can please chime in.
I don't think it's an easy decision. I picked at 8 in each of my most recent startups, so a pretty similar spot to this. And I played it both ways. I did one way one time, and I did it the other way the next time. I'm not even 100% certain which way I liked better, although one time I ended up just trading up to the 110, so I got both the guys that I was debating between. The way it kind of shakes out for me is my preference, like an early in the draft, it's all about maintaining flexibility. So if at the end of the day, I'm going to go with my ranks, but my preference, unless there's a major break between them, is to come out of the first 2 rounds, 1 quarterback and 1 wide receiver. And that kind of lets me, I feel like, manipulate the rest of the board the way that I want to. I don't hate 2 quarterbacks, but you then do run the risk of what if it's a draft where quarterbacks are falling further than you think? How much are you willing to be the quarterback hoarder and just keep taking them? So because I prefer to do 1 and 1, I think that I like the quarterback caliber that tends to fall to this other side a little bit more than I like the wide receivers that do. But it's hard because you don't know exactly who people are going to take. But that's where I lean. I think most simulations, I would rather do something like Chase, Kyler, Chase, Lawrence, Chase, Love than Burrow, and then whichever of those wide receivers is available.
Like Garrett Wilson, Puka.
Well, if it's Wilson, I'm going to be kicking myself a little bit. But if it's not Wilson, then I'm going to be okay.
I find it interesting. Like I actually have a hard time drafting Garrett Wilson early round 2 because he is, and we have seen that he's a little bit contingent on quarterback to hit his upside. Like he is a little bit, and Rodgers is kind of an iffy, bet for
I
multiple
think he'd be
years of
perfectly fine
production.
with Tyrod. I think just like not having Zach Wilson is the major issue.
I think that's fine, but at that early 2 price for me is where it breaks. Ryan, is this an easy call for you?
Yeah, I'm kind of similar to Jacob. It really is. I just stare down this draft room and say, yeah, do I think the quarterbacks I prefer are going to fall, or do I think the wide receivers I prefer are going to fall? And at this spot, when I can draft Jamar Chase, he is my wide receiver 1 in my rankings. I'm just going to take Chase most of the time, and be cool with that. So yeah, no arguments for me at all.
Yeah, Jamar Chase I wouldn't have blinked at that pick because I am not drafting Joe Burrow there, because I just think his WARP projection is fairly similar to a bunch of other quarterbacks week over week, and I'm just okay betting on that. Pick 10.
The other nice thing too these days is like the way that now we have some of these quarterbacks that fall in the third, and I don't know what ADP like exactly is. That this is, I know it's DDL. I just mean like I don't know exactly how it orders, which is good, so I can't cheat.
Yeah.
But like the nice thing is usually, I also tend to like your chances sometimes of getting either Dak or May in the third, and so I'm okay then in this setup being like Chase quarterback, or if something crazy happens, it's a super quarterback bullish room. It doesn't look like this is going to be going wide receiver and then a running back or wide receiver, and then hoping to maybe you trade up a little bit and you secure Dak in the third round as your QB1. That's a totally fine setup as well.
Yeah, I would agree completely. I feel like even in the super quarterback hungry rooms, there is always kind of one quarterback that for some reason people are not hot on. Very often it's Justin Herbert nowadays. And
Herbert almost makes us back to us here. I would have I would have torn my, oh my God, what was it called? The remedial, whatever fucking fake tendon Kristaps Porzingis torn. I would have torn that sprinting to the podium for Justin Herbert here, but
see, I'm the opposite. Give me Kyler over Herbert. Kyler over Herbert all day for me.
Well, luckily we don't have to make that choice.
I totally know. So let's talk about some players. We drafted Chase at 7. We went Lamb, Burrow. Yeah. Caleb at 110 to me is just a click I can't make.
Interesting price.
It's way too high. It's too damn high for me. Anthony Richardson at 111. I think the Amon-Ra Marvin slot at 12 is just so mint, in my opinion, especially with the third round reversal with quarterbacks. Like so you give me Amon-Ra Marvin and Dak on the way back, and I'm a happy camper. Hold on. I think there was a mistake here.
Who's paused?
Yeah. I think we
well, it doesn't matter. You can just add whoever's next. We don't have to. It doesn't.
Oh no. I told you I am doing it to how it is. Anyway, let's talk about your Herbert thing, because you and I have disagreed on this.
Yeah, and Justin Herbert's one of the best quarterbacks in the world, and he'll be one of the best quarterbacks in the world for longer than your league will survive. If you can take him in the second round, I just think it's just easy money there. I mean, I don't know what exactly our settings are. I always assume 6 point. If I'm not told otherwise, the majority of my leagues are 6 point.
It is 6 point passing touchdown, tight end premium, Superflex.
Yeah, so like in a 6 point passing touchdown league, I'm far more content to take the Herbert, Burrow, Stroud archetype and prioritize them a little bit more. Certainly in a 4 point, that's less the case, but I don't really think it's that big of a scoring loss where if you can have just passing touchdown upside, really racks up quite a bit in 6 point. If you can get that 40 touchdown season upside out of someone. And I don't love the current situation for Herbert. I mean, seasonal leagues, I think it's kind of insane to me. It's been a big overreaction towards his passing volume expectation when we just know, like, what was it? Was it Scott on here that said this, or was it Hilo on the Best Ball show? But someone was talking about the correlation between passing touchdowns and quarterback fantasy production. Like the whole idea that just because Herbert's going to throw less passes this year, He's going to throw for less yards this year. Like, that's frankly more relevant for his receivers, because what matters the most is passing touchdowns, not passing attempts and passing yards. So if he's still efficient and he's able to throw for touchdowns, I don't think it's going to be that bad. You think back to like those Russell Wilson years with the Seahawks, he was still very consistently in the mid-range of QB1s despite low volume. And, you know, I expect him to be efficient. He of course comes off the board. So to me, this is like not even a close decision. I'm sprinting to the podium for Kyler Murray here personally.
Yeah.
But I don't know how anybody else feels.
Yeah, I just to jump in on the Justin Herbert a little bit. Yeah, he's run kind of cold in TD rate, like since his first 2 seasons, and I just have to relate it back to Caleb Williams there. Like, Justin Herbert came in as a rookie, had one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen out of a quarterback. We're just projecting better than that for Caleb Williams, I guess. So yeah. I very much not interested in the Caleb Williams ADP. But totally interested in the Justin Herbert ADP. But yeah, really the only reason that I am not getting a lot of Justin Herbert in startups right now is because you can very often get Kyler Murray after, and I'm quite happy to do that as well. Just kind of leading into this pick. I don't think, unless anyone has objections, I'm assuming this is kind of another easy one for us.
It's Kyler per ADP. It's Breece Hall, but I'm just not tapping a running back in any startup draft.
I'm doing Kyler here every time. If it's the 1-7 slot, like my realistic hope, and I understand Herbert falls in some leagues. I think he's a player with a lot of variance. Most of the people that I play with are drafting Herbert in the first round of startups. And he's not
interesting
this range. But if you're playing with other people that I think maybe focus a little bit more on the projection aspect of it, you might see him in the second round. This is like the baseline expectation of what I'm hoping for the 1-7 really is let's get Jefferson or Chase, and then let's get Kyler Murray in the second.
Kyler Murray or Herbert. Even Love, I'm very much okay with. It's a 0.5 tight end premium. I saw someone ask that. I think that was Brian. Yeah. This is a 0.5 tight end premium. So obviously this is the nut start.
I'm a little less comfortable with Jordan Love. Like I specifically, when I was at this spot here, where I had taken Chase and I had the opportunity to trade up, and I only gave up a 6th round to 7th round move back, and I could just go up and secure Burrow in the first instead of dealing with the Jordan Love question. I was pretty happy to do that, and just, to me, it's like insuring your bet. Like, Jordan Love, I think people like talk about the upside of Jordan Love, and it's very real from an NFL perspective. I don't think that he runs as much as people maybe think that he does. Like, he's not a statue, but he's not exactly Jalen Hurts out there. He doesn't run meaningfully more than Justin Herbert runs. I would just prefer to take the players who I think are equally good, but we've seen them for more than a half season if the cost is pretty limited. And right now the market doesn't make you pay that much to go and get. Oh man, that was a dagger for me personally.
So we had to make some changes just because our picks have changed what ADP is according to Dynasty Data Lab. No team would take 3 quarterbacks. And if you're in a league that starts to draft for 3 quarterbacks, mock that individual relentlessly and tell him that you pray that one of these quarterbacks turn into a wide receiver.
I would start that way if the draft.
No, brother, seek help.
Well, I know who I'm taking here. I mean,
so after Kyler Murray, we had Breece Hall, Jahmyr Gibbs, Puka Nacua, Garrett Wilson, Sam Laporta at the 211, AJ Brown 212. Jaden Daniels at 3-1 is an interesting click for me that I don't know if I can make. Tyreek Hill, Malik Neighbors, Chris Olave, and Trevor Lawrence. This is a 3rd round reversal. So we are back. We are at the 3-6.
Yeah, to me, this is a really ideal start where if you can secure Chase and then you come back and you get Kyler and you get Dak Prescott, that to me is like the best possible world where I basically have started, in my mind, I've started quarterback because I feel like I'm getting those 2 secure top end quarterbacks that I want to have. And then I just, instead of that 3rd round pick being a Jalen Waddle, that 3rd round pick is now Jamar Chase. Right. And it almost feels like I've just cheated on the field by taking a slightly cheaper quarterback duo, and then just getting a much higher quality first position player.
Yep. Yeah, you pretty much read my mind. Love Dak Prescott here. Just kind of eliminating our other options, looking at the other positions, I have no interest in drafting a running back after Jahmyr Gibbs goes off the board for, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 rounds at the very least. They all just kind of seem the same to me. After that, it's just kind of one big tier with fairly similar levels of job security long term. So nothing that is going to interest me there. Tight ends, I also feel kind of similarly about, where I think we have a great kind of top 6, top 7 tier of tight ends right now in dynasty startups, but I am not generally trying to take my stance on who the tight end 2 is out of that, if I can get away with it, if I can avoid that. And yeah, so it's just very obviously Dak Prescott to me. There's just after him, there's no other like QB with that type of, not only just,
well, there is one guy, but there's always my guy Drake May who's hanging out there.
Yeah. So it'll never be Drake May for me in the third. I was going to
see sample of production in the league, so I
will make
that Drake May bullet right there.
I am required to make my Brock Purdy case, as I have he and Dak rated fairly similarly, especially with what looks like, from everything we're hearing from Dallas beats, is they are pretty much okay and comfortable letting Dak walk out of the building to sign Parsons and Lamb. So if it's a safety argument that you're looking for, if you want to double tap quarterback, I wouldn't harp on anybody for drafting Purdy in this spot. The other argument I would just want to make, it is Jonathan Taylor. He's like the last player within a tier. The only problem, and the reason I'm even mentioning this, is because someone out there is going to ask, why don't you take a running back, bro? Jonathan Taylor's the last guy. We talked to a Colts beat reporter today. That video will be coming out next week, who basically said, like, it doesn't matter who the Colts second running back is. Anthony Richardson is the Colts RB2, right? They are planning to give 80% of the touches to Taylor. This is an absolute workhorse and an elite talent in an offense that is going to open up for him. So if you want to make a case for a running back out of any of the guys not drafted in that second round to be RB1 again, Taylor would be your guy. Now, for me, not a pick that I would generally make here, but do just want to point out that if you were going to take a guy, if you missed that first wave, that would be the guy for me. And I did want to point out that it's not just clearly Dak for me, even though I think he's one of the most underrated dynasty assets. I would make a case for Purdy, but I know that I would lose that 2-on-1 in this case. So we're going to draft Dak, so we don't sit here and argue about Brock Purdy for an hour. So we are going to do that. So we've started Chase, Kyler, Dak.
Like he's, I would never take him over Dak, and I wouldn't take him over May. But if Dak and May were both gone, I would at least entertain a Taylor case relative to these wide receivers.
Your love for May is just reaching a point that, like, you've gone too far. Like, third round Drake May is too far. It's too damn high.
I mean, Daniels is already off the board, and he's not good, so I don't see the problem with taking May.
I mean, he's going to rush for like 900 yards minimum. May's not going to play for 4 weeks.
Okay,
minimum.
That's going to really matter.
That's the least convincing argument.
Yeah.
Like,
no, but I'm just saying, like,
I couldn't care less.
You're wondering why people are drafting Daniels in the third round. He brings that rushing upside.
I'm not wondering why. I think people should be drafting Daniels in the third round. I just think they should be drafting May first. Like I'd be drafting. I have no problem with Daniels at that cost. I think that's fine. It's May being undervalued to me, and not Daniels being overvalued in relation to those two. I mean, once you get past, like, I don't have interest in the Purdy and Tua and the Goff really particularly. So to me, once you get past like Dak and May and Daniels, then it's like, sometimes you'll get in a draft where one of the Purdy, Goff, Tua, McCarthy contingent really falls kind of disproportionate compared to the others, and I'll take that last one. Like, actually, I took a Tua share in this current draft that I'm in, and it's also a campus to Canton draft, so you feel even a little bit more quarterback insecure. But like, Purdy went off in the early third. Goff goes off with a 3-4 turn. Then McCarthy goes off. And I think I got 2 at like the 4-12. Where like I think all those guys are like basically just the same bet. I'm perfectly fine taking the last of them. Ryan was talking about the tight end stuff. I agree with that for the most part. I mean, we're talking about how to do the perfect draft. And I think ultimately you want to make every dynasty draft its own thing, its own economy. But if we get a draft like this, which is going basically as ADP goes, since we're drafting literally against it, my perfect draft and what I would kind of game plan around is let's get 2 quarterbacks, 1 wide receiver through 3, and then test out the room on what they're doing with wide receiver relative to tight end, and try to get one of those elite tight ends and one of the last members of this sort of second or third tier of young wide receivers in the 4th and the 5th. And if I can come away 2 quarterbacks, 2 receivers, 1 tight end through 5, that's kind of my ideal start. And then I can just kind of play values from there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
You
Ryan.
go ahead. You go ahead, Thomas.
All right, a gentleman. You sure you're not Canadian? Bindles wants Dak versus T-Law arguments. My argument is like T-Law's just never been as good as Dak. And I think he's just like, okay. Dak actually gives you the QB1 overall upside. Don't think Lawrence has it. Also think age is a little overblown at quarterback. Not worried about age. To me, there's no question. Like I want Dak well ahead of T-Law.
I'm taking Lawrence. I'm not even contemplating any alternative.
You can't be trusted with Lawrence takes.
I was like heartbroken / relieved that he went right before us, because it's better for our friendship that we didn't have to have that argument. But if it was my team, I would have like just been crying in the street.
Do you want to hear something insane? You want to know what my Trevor Lawrence rostership is in Dynasty, aside from the team that we co-manage in the Scott Barrett Invitational?
What is it?
Any guesses?
Well, I would have guessed 0, probably.
Correct. I do not have a single share of Trevor Lawrence. I have moved them all when he was at his highest value when he was still being drafted I completely Justin Fields his ass in the last couple of years.
You should buy back, because he was tremendously good last year and extraordinarily unlucky. He now gets a better group of skill players.
Every year we say the same story.
What do you mean every year? He was great 2 years ago. Like I don't know what the issue was. And then he's extraordinarily young. So you're getting with him versus Dak.
He was like Brock Purdy-ish.
As if Trevor Lawrence goes out and crushes this year, which he will, then he has the opportunity to spring back into the first round of startups, because you're getting that age upside. And I know, I agree for the most part that the age is overvalued in terms of if this asset dies on your team, but you still have a much better chance, I think, of eventually being able to flip Lawrence into that late round 1 value than Dak is coming off of like the best season of his career, and he didn't really go up in value. He's just going to be it is what he is at this point in value until he declines. The
problem with Trevor Lawrence is like just barely not as good as Brock Purdy has been. So like, is he really like that stand outish when you put the data beside each other? Like, what are you really gaining for a non?
Okay.
What did you just say? Watch the tape on this podcast?
I will say,
get out of here. Get out of here. Watch the games. The only thing I need to watch about Trevor Lawrence is how many times he blatantly misses receivers downfield. Like that all just miss. Well, Calvin Ridley wide open, miss. It's truly a pandemic, but luckily, he has Gabe Davis and BTJ, so I'm not even as worried about them even being open to begin with. So maybe he will do better. He won't have to miss completely wide open wide receivers literally all day. So we have now, after we've taken Dak, Purdy went, Taylor, London, Etienne, Ayuk, McBride, Tua, Odunze, Waddle, Barkley, Kincaid, and Goff. And now at this point, I am probably just going to unpause after our picks and let the computer do its thing. I think we are at a point where variance can take over. Bindle says, learn ball, bro. Brian says, watch the tape.
This is an interesting spot of the draft. Who do you guys like here? I have 2 that I'd even go as far as 3 that I'd be happy with.
I just want to say I can't get a word in obviously on Trevor Lawrence between the two of you guys, but I will say even without watching the tape, even just purely looking at the numbers, I've been kind of in the weeds of like the Jaguars wide receivers last year. Calvin Ridley led the league in end zone targets. I don't think any wide receiver dropped more touchdowns than Calvin Ridley did last year. So I can hear it. I mean, Lawrence, Dak, Purdy, I have all three ranked back to back. Realistically, would have been fine with taking any of them there. But yeah, I mean, in this spot, I would. This is where there's two ways I think you can go here. I am starting to feel the pressure a little bit at wide receiver. I would like to lock up kind of a younger, elitish wide receiver. Right now, based on my rankings, that would be Nico Collins here. And just being attached to CJ Stroud for the long term is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there, obviously. I would entertain Devon Achane here. And
okay.
So I know I just said I don't want to take running backs in this spot, but I will say, kind of going back to the Jonathan Taylor of it all, the reason I don't like Taylor as much in startups right now is because if I'm drafting a running back early in startups, I want it to be a guy who's going to be at the top of his position just in terms of projected production in redraft like terms or whatever for multiple seasons, for at least the next 2 to 3 years. That's not even really Jonathan Taylor this year. Like he's in the second round at ADP of underdog drafts right now, and I'm not even really excited about him there. But Achane, I think if I were to pick any running back in this tier, where if you turn around at the end of 2024 and told me, yeah, this is the guy that we're projecting as a top 3 running back for the next 2 to 3 seasons, that I would pick Devon Achane out of sort of this crowd of running backs very, very, very clearly. So I prefer Collins here, but it would be okay with Achane.
Well,
yeah,
you know how I feel about this Nico thing. We could just draft Tank Dell in like another round and, get similar enough production. If I were to actually make a call here, and this is something that I haven't done a lot, if we want positional scarcity, the last guy I care about is on the board in Brock Bowers. I think we have enough talented upside at every position that we can take this kind of flyer on what is supposed to be a generational. I've kind of worked out that generational in Dynasty is about 5 years, because it seems like every 5 to 6 years that's kind of the limit. But
contract.
Right. Like this is a guy that pre-draft process people were touting, and by people I mean Jacob and Scott Barrett on the show when I told him that the worst can happen and he wouldn't be the tight end 1, and the worst happened and he's not the tight end 1. But this is a guy pre-draft process that allowed us.
Why are we just victory lapping other people's opinions? Like, can't we let them play football before we do that?
Well, look, because I don't get many. And when I do, I have to just take my shot.
But nothing's happened yet. Can't we just?
All I'm saying is that I said the worst would happen and opinions would change right away, and it did. That's it. That's all I'm saying. But with him being the last at that position that I would really want to pay up for, I know the chat is saying Mark Andrews. Bowers is saying Bowers, Andrews run to the podium. A lot of people are saying Andrews. I like Bowers here quite a bit just because, I mean, I want a bit of that rookie quote unquote generational love. I think Andrews is a fine play, but I mean, Ryan has listened to my bullshit on Mark Andrews quite a bit. So I'm interested to hear what you guys say. For me, this is Bowers. Ryan says Achane is someone he would argue with Nico. Jacob, who do you got?
Well, I like 2 of the 3 names that have been floated. For me, it's between really 2 guys, and it's half of Ryan's guy and Tom's guy. So I wouldn't be looking at Achane personally here really at all. I mean, I love the player, but that's a little too much volatility in my life. And especially just how we can usually attack the running back position a bit later on. For me, it's about kind of the same ideas as how I talked through the first round, which is like I want to come out of this, in my ideal world, this 4-5 with 1 wide receiver and 1 tight end. And to me, it comes down mostly to how you feel about Pitts and Andrews, and in the sense of like, if I miss out on Bowers, like would I rather have Nico Collins and hope that I get one of Andrews, Pitts, or Bowers, or would I rather just take my favorite of the three, which is Bowers, and then just accept whatever wide receiver comes to me in the fifth? And I don't know if that's Dell, I don't know if that's Higgins, I don't know exactly who that's going to be. I tend to lean towards the Collins route, but I'm totally fine with Bowers. So like I'm pretty neutral on this. It would be between those two for me.
We still have Pitts on the board as well.
Yeah, my counter to Bowers, if you want to draft a generational tight end, was going to be why don't we just wait and draft Kyle Pitts if you really want a generational tight end? And that's what I would be hoping for. If this were a real draft, I'm clicking Nico Collins and praying.
See, and I'm just as fine with Michael Pittman Jr. for the same reasons that I'm happy with Tank Dell post this round. This is why this fourth round can be so
one that I'm going to be into.
Really? See, I'm all about Michael Pittman being an absolute dog in this offense. He's the guy, the target earner. If we're expecting Richardson
the target earner in the Minshew offense, I don't know that he's
been a target earner in the last two offenses, and now he gets
right. But the last two offenses were like poodle armed shot putters who threw a bunch of 7-yard drag routes. Like I don't know that I love the fit with Richardson.
Okay, interesting. That's not something I've really been.
I
trust Steichen.
I trust Steichen. This is more of a best ball take than a dynasty take because these guys obviously are just cheaper. And I've been taking a ton of Richardson. I just play it through Mitchell and Downs, and I'm pretty much ignoring Pittman.
Okay, yeah, you won't catch me drafting AD Mitchell anywhere. So
I think Evan's fine. He would not be in my top 10 receivers here.
Okay, so this is an interesting spot here. This is our first impasse. I thought maybe it'd be in the first 3 rounds, but it's really at the 4th round. We will go Collins because both of you guys have agreed on Collins.
I think I think you just let Jacob decide between Bowers or Collins. I think that's how we.
Yeah, I guess that's fair, right? You guys, one voted Bowers and one voted Collins.
Drum roll.
Probably the way I end up, man. This is tough.
Is the contract going to sway you into drafting?
Well, legitimately here, I would just never I wouldn't make this pick. I would trade back from this pick because I'm so
right, obviously.
But
good caveat. Make sure you get that in there.
Well, hey, this is the first time. Like the last 3 picks, I would have been, or no, Chase, I would have moved back a couple from that pick. Yeah. But Kyler and Dak, I would have been sticking and picking right away.
I would have moved up for Waddle. We can just pick every guy that we would have moved up in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Why are we drafting?
All right.
See, TD, I like TD's opinion here.
I'm gonna make a slight lean to Nico Collins, and the reason why is that I'm gonna assume rational drafting. There's only 5 teams behind us. I'm gonna assume none of them are gonna double tap tight end, and so all we need is one of those 3 to fall to us. And then I'm happy with that decision. And it looks like we got that. So okay. At this point, I'm sprinting to the podium for Mark Andrews, but I also know that we boxed Tom out of the last pick, so he should at least get a shot.
I expected to get boxed out on this podcast tonight. I was prepared for it. I like TD's argument. I'd say Nico here if Tank over Nico wasn't my personality, and I agree. Tank Dell is gonna be there. And after Scott Barrett posted the games that Nico and Tank Dell started and finished, how close they were in points per game, I am still wait on Nico and just draft Tank Dell. But anyway,
I guess my question is why not both? I've done 3 startups this year where I've just taken both of them. I'm telling you, right? My whole case is that I think Stroud is worthy of consideration as a clear top 3. I think he's the greatest quarterback. I think he's the 2nd greatest quarterback in NFL history. I think he's going to throw for 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns this year. Both Nico and Tank are great picks. I'm super overweight on both of them in best ball. I'm even taking Wash Diggs. I'm all on board on this Houston offense. I'm happy to take 2. Why can't there be 2 talented young receivers tied to a once in a lifetime quarterback?
You know, there's You're like going headstrong at quarterbacks makes me so nervous, mostly because I'm jealous. Like I wish I could be this headstrong on a take about a quarterback. So obviously after our pick
I
of
mean, we all
Nico,
watched him last year. He was
Kyron,
magical.
HN,
Don't you guys
Pittman,
like to have fun
Bowers,
sometimes?
Devonta
Come on.
Smith, Walker, who falls well after ADP, Josh Jacobs, DJ Moore, T. Higgins, and Kyle Pitts, leaving us Mark Andrews on the board, which I believe we're all pretty in
I'm
on
for
at
it,
this
but
pick.
I'm totally open to Tank Dell too.
Interesting. So for Warp in a league like this, you really want that tight end one potential or really not at all. For me, positional scarcity, like Mark Andrews is the last guy. Maybe TJ Hawkinson, who I have ranked immediately after Mark Andrews. I'm not worried about his injury or anything like that for his dynasty outlook. It's just, will he come back to us? I don't know, because I don't know what this ADP is, because I am not cheating here. So for me, this is Mark Andrews pretty easily. I am not double tapping wide receiver just because historically speaking, 2 sustained upper tier wide receivers for production is not common. So I'm fighting history here a little bit. It's also not a best ball lineup, so you can't just pick which wide receiver went off all the time. So that's really heavily contingent on that. And also, I mean, with our luck, let's be real, we're going to face the Stroud manager in the finals. He's going to throw.
He's going to have Diggs.
He's going to, absolutely. And that's what's going to happen.
Schultz.
The Dalton Schultz 3 touchdown performance. Yes.
So for me, it's kind of an easy pick here because I don't want Zay Flowers at this price.
I have no issue with Andrews. I love Mark Andrews.
Round 5 Andrews, I just wanted
to give you the chance to make a case for your boy Tank Dell.
My case for Tank Dell is lost because you guys already took Nico. But at the same time, it's like there's no difference in this scenario because we take a tight end and then we get Dell, or do we take Nico and then we get a tight end anyway? So in this situation, I feel like it doesn't matter to have this argument
Fair enough.
for the take, because again, I think they're just such a similar player. For me, it is, if there was just a tight end I loved a little bit more, like I like Pitts more than Andrews. So would I have rather taken Pitts when I know I could get Tank Dell around later? Yeah, absolutely. But in this case, we're really just fighting over.
To say that I'm kind of scared about Kyle Pitts.
Please.
No, this is not a safe space. Anything you say will be argued back at you.
I guess all I'm asking for is like I'm still drafting him and I still have him on my teams and I'm not like trading them all away and I'm still even taking him in best ball. It's just like, I did that article yesterday. I'm going through all like the stats about Jake Ferguson, that why I don't think he's good. And then I like bring up all the lists of comparable tight ends. I'm like, man, it kind of sucks that Kyle Pitts is the only one on this list who's worse than Jake Ferguson. And it's like so Ferris brings up the injury. And I 100% agree that I think the injury is the dominant cause of why he was so bad. What I'm not 100% sure of is like, just because he was bad because he was hurt doesn't mean that he'll then just get all of that back. Like sometimes players just get hurt and then they aren't good anymore. And that's more my fear. And all I'm saying is, I guess I just wish that after a player is like horrible for 2 years in a row, actually horrible for 1 year and produced horrible for 2 years in a row, I just wish I got a discount. It would be nice if I got a discount. I would love to like, to be able to just be like, yeah, man, like all in on Pitts again, which I still am regardless. It's just a little bit uncomfortable. That's all. But I also totally agree with David that like, yeah, Kyle Pitts could be Dynasty tight end 1 by week 4. I totally I can see both scenarios. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, you are getting a discount though, right? Like in best ball, Drake London is a top 12 wide receiver. He's never produced like that. You're paying up for Drake London.
And I mean, I might even be more of a London truther. I mean, I've been truthering for both. That's the thing. It's like I've been truthering for both these guys while they weren't doing anything. So if I didn't pick them now that they're positioned to do stuff, I don't know how I'd live with myself.
Yeah.
But like, am I going to tell you that Drake London is like a good early second round redraft pick? Like, I don't think that he is. Like, that's like pretty insane to me. So I don't know. It's like, I guess we're doing that. All right, I guess I'm doing that.
with London specifically, I agree. It's definitely a
Oh
leap
my
of
God.
faith into like
He
had incredible peripherals that we're projecting the offense is going to look significantly better for fantasy production. I agree. There are a lot of kind of off ramps there that aren't as good for an early second round pick. But with Pitts, you're paying the exact same that you were paying for him last year in all formats. And I am fine with that. When we didn't really know about the extent of the injury last year, and now the offense is very likely to be much better. I would think at 24, is he 22, 24, 23? I don't know. Young, hyper athletic, insanely highly drafted tight end. Yeah, he younger than you think. I would think that this is, if I'm picking players that aren't going to be the same after an injury, it's not a player that looks like Kyle Pitts, right? That's not the thing I'm worried about with him. So yeah, I'm all in on Pitts this year. And just to be clear, I've not been like a crazy Pitts person for the last year. I was in on him some, but his first year or two in the league, I was kind of like, okay, whatever. I don't see the projection here, but now I do. And and the cost is the same. I'm very in.
So after our Mark Andrews pick, it's James Cook, Rashad White, Zay Flowers, Isaiah Pacheco, DK Metcalf, Jordan Addison, Tank Dell, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, George Pickens, Debo, and Brooks just went before us. Before we make our pick,
I guess we transitioned to the sleeper ADP somewhere along here because
that's what I said.
I mean, if we don't take round 6 Drake May, I'm like coming to your home.
I'm not. I don't know if I'm taking that. Look, before we make our pick, I just want to point out that
you would take Drake May in the 6th round.
Jacob, can I finish? Can I?
Yeah.
Can we get? Okay, thank you. I know, like company man and stuff, but goddamn. Look, you already dominate your home, office, and family leagues every year. Now it is time to take your game to the next level. The FFPC is the place to play fantasy football this summer. No salary caps, no DFS, no new formats to learn, just a pure drafting fun that you've always loved. FFPC is home to multiple $1 million grand prizes, massive best ball tournaments, competitive dynasty leagues, and a multitude of exclusive formats. Drafts are filling every single day at MyFFPC. That is myffpc.com. Begin your pursuit of millions today at myffpc.com. As for round 6, Drake May, I think it's fine. I just want JJ McCarthy more. I've stressed this the entire pre-draft season, the entire draft season. I want JJ McCarthy. I want him in that offense. I want him with the newly minted Justin Jefferson, the maybe above average Jordan Addison, but the actually studly TJ Hawkinson in a KOC offense. I said pre-draft process, that hasn't changed for me, that I want McCarthy in Minnesota over any quarterback that goes to New England that's not Jaden Daniels. I'm standing by that. I am drafting by that. I still want JJ McCarthy, who is also more mobile than people give him credit for. I'm taking JJ McCarthy here.
Look, we say goes to New England as if we know absolutely anything about the New England offense as it's going to look this year. We don't know anything about how that's going to turn out.
That's fine.
This was the same argument people used with CJ Stroud last year. I don't want anyone that goes to that Texans.
So we have one insane outlier, and we're just banking that. Like it's
not that we have one insane outlier. It's that quarterbacks make their own
landing spot.
Yes, they make their own environment. They make their own landing spot. One of the things I am ranting about on every show, in every article, every sleeper list or whatever this offseason is we kind of do this every single year where we just leave an offense for dead because they have the stink on them from last year, even if none of the component parts are even the same. That it made no sense with the Texans last year. It makes no sense with the Patriots this year. All of those guys are huge best ball redraft values right now.
Sure.
May absolutely love taking him here. We can be the annoying friggin' people that draft 3 QBs early and then try to trade off one of them and get.
They're both project players.
Yeah,
like they are both project players, right? There's no such thing as like a perfect quarterback prospect. Like I don't think it really exists. Time has proven that. I say all the time, only God knows how to scout quarterbacks. I know that one of them has Justin Jefferson and an elite play caller running their offense. So I want that guy. This is the offense that had Nick Mullins absolutely setting people up for the finals. Like it just an offense that works and clicked, and we know it.
Look at where getting set up gets you. Like that's like see Purdy round 3, Tua round 4, Goff round 4. Like that's frankly, like McCarthy here is insane value. Like I mean, this won't happen in your leagues, but like I mean, if somehow I ever fell out into a league that actually drafted like this, I would just trade everything into round the pick right behind
I'm
me.
hungry,
I would draft
Brian.
both of these guys.
I'm hungry.
But like that's what if McCarthy is just like a minorly competent quarterback, like I'm sure he'll get carried into that Goff, Purdy, and to his zone. And I like him better than all 3 of those guys. I would take him ahead of any of the 3 of them because I think he has upside to be more than that. But I'm still not taking him over Drake May, who is a quarterback that I think we should have tons and tons of conviction on based on everything that he did in college, how often he was trusted to lead a college offense, throwing at an extremely high rate, being efficient, being a guy who throws deep at an extraordinary rate, being a guy who runs at an extraordinary rate, being a guy who's been able to manage a developed pro-style actual offense instead of just, not having as much of a comprehensive drop back game by being nurtured, is the way I'll put it, in the Michigan system. Like I love McCarthy at this price, but I would never click him over May. I mean, I have May ranked over Dak Prescott in Dynasty. I mean, I didn't make the argument.
Yeah, I think you're out of your mind.
I would have taken him in round 3.
I think you're out of your mind.
I mean, we're taking Caleb in the first round, and I think May
definitely
is a
not
prospect to him.
I said Caleb at 110. I think you're out of your mind to have Drake May over Dak. I think that is just the like. I don't even know how to put it. I just think that is just like the Dynasty Galaxy brain thought.
I mean,
like
okay,
process.
Yeah, I mean, there's downside risk. Like he could bust. He could also be
a lot in the third round that can sink you.
Not really.
My brother.
Like the third overall, like, okay, if he's a truly elite quarterback, then he's going to be an early first round startup pick next year. He's been worth 4 firsts. Like, if he busts him, who cares? I mean, the same thing goes for like either of these players is like totally unreasonable to ever slide this far. It's like you're basically paying late first value on them, and it's a price that could easily triple by week 8. So you're just getting an absolute steal in either direction. But I just don't think that these players are comparable.
At least I know I'm just not gonna have any Drake May. Like if that's where he's
great.
at, there's just other guys I'm gonna
for
have.
you, but that's
we're gonna end up making a Drake May bet. I already know that we are.
Please, I hope.
But we're at an hour. This podcast is gonna be 3 hours long.
Let's stop arguing about drafting him in the 3rd and draft him in the 6th.
I don't. Yeah. I for the record, I'm so against this
the
pick,
opportunity cost.
But I'll make it.
Derrick Henry.
I'll make it, but I'm not happy about it.
I mean, if McCarthy comes back, we could just click him really quickly.
Oh God.
Oh look, boom!
You did come back, which is hilarious. Like we're still trying to build the perfect draft here, and I don't know if 4 tapping quarterback.
Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, this is a goofy draft because the sleeper ADP is messed. But yeah, I mean,
but how do you like on a strategy standpoint? How are you looking at this and going, yeah, give me 4 quarterbacks?
I'm going, give me the best player, and McCarthy is like 2 tiers better than anybody else available to me. So I'm clicking him very, very quickly, and I'm not even thinking twice about it because it's not like you're just sticking Derek Carr on your bench. Like, great, my quarterbacks are Kyler Murray and Dak Prescott. I'm going to just put Drake May and JJ McCarthy out of sight, out of mind. and I'm going to see how they look this year. And if they balloon into first round startup assets, awesome. I can trade them for anything that I want. And if they don't, then they just sit on my bench. But like, it's just a total value bet.
Yeah, no, he's right. I mean, quarterback is the only position you can do that with in Superflex, in my opinion. Like, I don't think the same thing works anywhere else. But yeah, I think you just accept we're going into this year with theoretically less projection at the wide receiver and the running back positions, but you're giving your roster like this massive upside just on your bench in terms of a value bet. So yeah, I'll caution that if a league was this weird, I would just kind of be looking around and trying to figure out why nobody else seems to value the quarterback position. And if that is something I'm going to run into further down the line.
That's important to note.
Yeah. But aside from that, I just philosophically, I'm fine with that. If this were to,
I mean, realistically, what I would do is if somehow I got into this league, the first thing I'm doing is I'm just putting Kyler and Dak on the block and seeing what I could do. There's several things that I might do, but none of them would include bypassing a 7th round JJ McCarthy. That's for sure.
I'll say that it's important to note, like you said, we're trying to have the perfect strategy. You do have to play the board as it comes to you. Now I'll kick and I'll scream and I'll whine and I cry over players that
your guy.
I don't just listen. Sir, can I finish? Please, can I finish? Look, I will whine and cry if a situation arises where there's a player I clearly want ahead of somebody else that still just happened to fall to me, and my co-manager says, no, like I really want this. If at the end of the day that player does come back to you, and like Jacob and Ryan said, they're so clearly far and away better, you play the board that is in your hand. You cannot force a pick. It's, oh no, I only have 2 wide receivers. Well, I have to draft Keon Coleman here. You're not drafting Keon Coleman above JJ McCarthy in Superflex rookie drafts. So when you're building the perfect roster, you have to give yourself maximum liquidity and maximum upside. Now, again, I will make the peasant's case for why I want players over players, but you're looking at a guy like McCarthy here. He's not going to fall to the 7th, but how we can put this into a situation that might be realistic for you is if you just see a glaring value sitting there that is confirmed by ADP, you just take that value. So that's what we're going to do. I just wanted to make sure I could word that in a way that makes sense for the video, so I don't get blamed in my DMs for clickbait title making, because at FantasyPoints.com, we actually create the content that we are saying that we're going to make, unlike some sites out there that just hook you. So
it's a great value here on Deshaun Watson,
Fantasy
right?
Points. Get out of here.
Okay. For the record, I would just literally, if this was in my league, I would just keep clicking quarterbacks for forever. But I'm just going to pretend that the quarterbacks are going off the board and we can't see them, so that we can just make this more actionable podcast.
We could take your favorite player that you wrote about today, Jake Ferguson.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for here. Can we pan over away from the quarterbacks so that I can look at some name that isn't Terry McLaurin? Because that's the only name I can see.
Obviously, right, we have some running back options, right, some wide receiver. For me, this is Amari Cooper, Christian Kirk all day.
Yeah, I like Kirk here.
Pretty handedly. Obviously, after our McCarthy pick, Devontae Adams, which makes me big sad. Stephon Diggs, Javonte Williams, Trey Benson, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, Keon Coleman, Tony Pollard before Spears, insane. My guy, Zamir White, getting hyped. Hopefully you were in on him in February when I wrote him up, and I had to convince Ryan to let me do it. George Kittle, Cooper Kupp, and then obviously David Njoku. So we are sitting here in the 8th round. We have gone quarterback. No, I'm kidding. Jamar Chase, Kyler Murray, Dak, Nico, Andrews, May, and McCarthy. Those last 2 picks obviously aren't likely to happen, but you do have to pounce on values that falls. For me, this is quite easily Amari Cooper, but I could be talked into Christian Kirk as well.
I'm Kirk. I like Kirk better in redraft. Than
Shocker.
All right. I'll break the tie, and I'm on Amari Cooper as well. I like him better in redraft. Amari Cooper's redraft upside is
there's a lot of redraft talk on this podcast today.
Well, what do you expect? You have me and Jacob on. Literally, all the two of us do all day is think about best ball.
Well, the Cooper best one is particularly notable.
Sorry, that's my frame of reference right now, Thomas. I can't sit here like you do and just do dynasty startups all day. That's not actionable content for me to make, brother. For me to write up. I'm sorry.
Reach, Ryan. Got on a verse?
I'm gonna let it sit.
Oh my god!
I love that. I mean, you're totally right. It's best ball summer. I mean, for the record, you literally bring up two guys who go directly next to each other. So every single time you're at the 4 or 5 turn in underdog, you're making the decision: do I want Christian Kirk or do I want Amari Cooper? And I have chosen Christian Kirk every single time. And,
interesting.
And you know, I don't think it's like a crazy thing to prefer Amari Cooper. I think so. I mean, ultimately, like it's an easy choice for me in dynasty because I even if I just say, hey, they go next to each other, they're comparable, I'll just take the younger one. But I don't have an issue with Cooper. It's fine.
Yeah, I like both of them in redraft. To be clear, they're both in the values article.
I like two other guys that are kind of the same style. But I also think that this room might starve us at a running back before it starves us at a receiver. So I would be fine with, if I'm going receiver, I'm going Godwin or Deontay, but I'm totally fine with a running back pick here. They're all the same, but I don't know, probably like Spears is gone. Maybe can we maybe make Warren, maybe B-Rob.
Can we make a total upside case, or I'll ask Ryan if he can. He's your guy. He's your next Tyreek Hill. Could you make an upside case for Christian Watson in this spot with the receivers that we're currently walking around with?
I mean, you can.
Or is he firmly like just behind Chris Godwin and Deontay for you?
Well, it depends what you want, right? So if you're going to say, I want projectable points, which is a fair thing to want. I understand that. Yeah, then no, Watson is probably not the move here. But if I want somebody who can move up the board in value, that's Christian Watson, I think, very clearly out of all of these wide receivers here. So, I mean, based on how we've built our team, where we have Drake May and JJ McCarthy kind of already like burning a hole in our bench in terms of these are guys that we're just making value bets on, I would lean toward I want the production at wide receiver. I kind of
we made our bed in that regard. I think when we took the 29-year-old receiver, like we had a pivot point where we could have put Mark Andrews on the trade block and committed to the tank. But we're now committed to trying to win this on a shoestring budget here. So I support Points. I don't care which one. I don't know. Do you like Godwin more? Do you like Deontay more? Hollywood Brown. I don't really like Hollywood Brown very much this year, but I understand that he actually goes ahead of both of these guys in best ball. So if you wanted to make the case for him, I get
it. Any running back consideration that's on the board currently that you're happy with in this case? Like I know all three of us, our team don't draft RBs, but sitting in the 9th round.
I'd be Warren or B-Rob personally, but I like most of these guys pretty equally. So I'm
a big Brian Robinson guy myself, but I don't think I'm doing that over wide receivers. I think I think Ridley is a guy that I think should see some consideration.
Yeah, that's worthwhile.
Although I don't believe the head coach in Jacksonville has ever been a primary play caller, at least in the last couple of years from the coaching data that I've been tracking. So as much as we like love where he's coming from, like a philosophy standpoint and what we can kind of project him to do based on the coaches that he's worked under, not being that primary play caller and not exactly having any idea of what's going to happen with that offense and how he's going to manage it is a little scary for me. So I'm kind of just taking Hopkins because he's cheaper, right? Yeah. Even though Ridley might be the better wide receiver at this point, but I know Ryan's made some great cases for Hopkins.
Did you know DeAndre Hopkins led the entire NFL in air yards last year?
I did
insane.
I know all
I'm gonna
that
break the tie while we discuss DeAndre Hopkins.
Right, it's like I know you're like
I did,
you just
yes.
adopted the Hopkins. I was born in it.
Pretty much, yeah.
But I just want to
here come the quarterbacks. Okay.
I was born in it, molded by it.
Yeah.
Christian Watson did go. Calvin Ridley did go.
B-Rob.
So we are drafting a running back here in the 10th round. Totally fine, by the way.
So unless I'm missing one, I believe and maybe I am missing him on the board because I don't see him in the queue. But I think Marshawn Lloyd is my highest ranked running back right now. Oh, there he is. Okay.
My man.
Okay, why would I take round 3 rookie running back who is currently a backup and we hope is a starter over the round 3 running back who just is a starter?
Sure. So he's not projectable points. I agree. So leaning into that might be where we go. But just in terms of do I think Brian Robinson is going to turn into anything of note as a dynasty asset? No. I think Lloyd has an outside shot to do that. I think he has at least somewhat of a 3-down skill set. The way that they're already talking about him, it gets me excited. So I could see going there. But I have Robinson like 1 or 2 spots behind, so I'm fine going that direction.
You guys can do the Lloyd thing if you want. I mean, you'll never get my vote for Lloyd. I think he's ass. So you guys can do that. He's nowhere even close to my top rookie running back here. But I understand that of the Dynasty Points community, I walk a lonely road on the Marshawn Lloyd fade. So I'll let you guys do as you wish on that.
Nice Green Day reference. No Jameson Williams consideration. I mean, I've been told that he's breaking out this year.
I'd be fine with Deontay here, but I'm kind of good on
too,
wide receiver.
honestly.
I think we need a running back, but I
wouldn't be. How many wide receivers do we start? Oh, okay.
Right, it's a standard 2 flex. Start 2 wide receivers.
Yeah. If there was another flex in I'm definitely be going Deontay, but.
I mean, I not that he would even be my pick next round, but like I look at how far he's down the ADP list. Like I'm promising you guys, if you want your Marshawn Lloyd, that we can just take him in the next round.
Yeah, no,
you're so adamantly against Marshawn Lloyd.
You take him in the 15th, but I mean, look, I'm telling you guys, you can have him in the 11th if we want him.
Okay.
I just don't get this guy, man. Like
he's good at football, bro.
He has what is the season high? 114 carries.
Have you watched the tape?
Watch the tape, Jacob.
It doesn't impress me. I watched it and I see a guy who doesn't know how to make decisions.
We had Joe Dolan and I had Aaron Nagler on, who is a in the weeds Packers beat, who suggested that like AJ Dillon's not even likely to make the team this year, and with how they rotate backs and how much they love Marshawn Lloyd, like he has just got that explosive role locked down at this point. And if it really hedges on whether or not he can improve his pass pro enough for them to feel comfortable by week 4 or 5, if that is the case, he's firmly going to have that Aaron Jones role in this offense. Big plays.
Aaron Jones 65% of the snaps.
Yeah. I firmly think he can get there.
35% of the snaps this year.
I don't think Jacob makes it through the season, so I'm fully on board with Marshawn Lloyd seeing that snap rate. Not saying it's going to happen,
jumps the shark. Like I mean, Josh Jacobs get hurt. Like I totally buy that.
I'm not
Lloyd
saying that he is going to be out there. Like when I say the Aaron Jones role, I mean the explosive play, pass catching, like upside role that he had in that offense, not the snap rate. Because their thing with Aaron Jones and the reason they let him go was because they just couldn't keep him on the field. Like we always say, he would have like 3 great plays, tap his helmet, and then no one knows why he's not on the field till the 4th quarter. Right? Like that's why they let him go in the first place. I don't think they're as committed to like Josh Jacobs being that like elite touch share guy, considering they gave him a glorified 1-year contract.
Well, so I buy that like they're gonna do a somewhat of a rotation, and I buy that Lloyd's going to be the other guy. But like, I guess what I just don't buy is why 35% like committee back Marshawn Lloyd is like supposed to excite me. Like that was like what Charbonnet was last year. Nobody's excited about Charbonnet right now. Like Henry Miller is going to probably be that this year. Like that doesn't really excite it. I guess like Blake Corum, I think is going to be that. And I just think he's like a vastly better player. And then, I don't know, maybe Wright's a little different, but like, I guess what I don't understand is why, like, based on him playing some of the snaps for Green Bay, thus I should be excited. Like I agree he will play some of the snaps for Green Bay. And I agree he's explosive. I don't see the path to like, then when does he become starting running back Marshawn Lloyd that I'm really excited that I drafted? Like that's what I don't really get. Like I've taken him when he's fallen into the early third round of rookie drafts. Like that's fine for me because that's when I'm taking backup running backs anyways. But I think people are like skipping steps in terms of like how we get from Lloyd exciting bench asset to Lloyd pillar of my dynasty team. That's all.
It's not a pillar of your dynasty team if you're drafting him after the 10th round. You're taking your upside shots for guys that can project to go higher, in my opinion.
I'm fine with him.
There's just some other backs, like if you're, would you be surprised if like Gus Edwards put up the same season as Brian Robinson? I wouldn't be, not at all. And you can get him significantly lower. So if you want your upside guys, these running backs are just kind of churn them out guys that are role projectors. So I wouldn't mind taking the shots on them. Like that's my argument for it.
Is like, okay, so I guess like what do we think Lloyd's upside is? Like this guy's top season in college, and he played 5 years in college, was 114 touches in a season. Like, or maybe it's 140, 140 or 114. They sound the same. I just want to make sure I'm not spreading misinformation. It wasn't a lot. Okay. It wasn't a lot.
Covering your bases. Smart.
Like it would be very surprising if he became like a 280 touch guy. Like if he becomes Brian Robinson, like that's a massive win for him. I think maybe we just have very different visions of what Brian Robinson is. That's fine. I think some people see him as like a bad player who's just kind of like gets volume by accident. I actually think he's a good running back. I don't think he is a special player. I think he's reliable. I think he has strong vision. I think he executes the game plan well. People talk about him as some crazy plotter who doesn't catch passes. It's kind of perplexing because he actually had like a lot of explosive work in the receiving game last year. And so people want to say he can't, that was just busted plays. Like that's fine. But then can you say at least he's a little explosive in the run game? Or can you credit his receiving game? They were talking about his receiving upside today. Dan Quinn was like, he played all three down back at Alabama. Like I just, to me, he's like the David Montgomery Redux, where it's like this guy who people don't get excited about, but he's always out there and he plays and he's like totally fine. And, I get it. He's not a world beater, but I just don't know what is in the Marshawn Lloyd profile, I guess, that suggests like he will rise to more than that. Like I think a pretty successful Marshawn Lloyd career, a very successful Marshawn Lloyd career is he flashes this year behind Jacobs. He has really nice advanced metrics, explosive plays. I totally believe that can happen. And then maybe they move on from Jacobs in 2 years and Lloyd gets kind of to be part of a 50-50. Like, I think that's like an 85th percentile outcome for him. And anyway, that's all.
I mean, I would just say, I don't think that's like an 85th percentile outcome. I think, I don't know. Yeah. I'd go like my vision for Marshawn Lloyd and like what I hope he becomes in the league is like DeAndre Swift, but his team doesn't hate him for his entire rookie contract. That's kind of like the upside that I envision.
That's the upside.
He can be like the very efficient, like 14 to 16 touches a game, mostly in the passing game with big explosive plays and the advanced metrics. People really love him. Like, and that can be a fairly valuable dynasty running back, right? That is the type of running back that shoots up the startup ADP if we even get a hint of he's going to have a lead role. And that can come via injury. That can come via Jacobs being awful and then moving on. It can come in so many different ways. So in terms of if I need to draft a running back here and I want to add value to my team, then that is the direction I go. But I don't hate Brian Robinson or anything. I agree that he is a lot better than most people seem to think he is because kind of people's takeaways after he got shot in the leg right before his rookie season, and then him being inefficient in the advanced metrics was a little unhinged, I'd say. So I'm with you there. But I'm just much more, I guess I'm just more optimistic about Lloyd's profile. And maybe that's foolish optimism. Maybe this is me sitting here in June and just saying and taking it for granted that the role I envision for a player that hasn't played a snap yet in the NFL is exactly what's going to happen. So I'm open to being wrong there, but that kind of, as Thomas has said, the vibes are so good.
They're hard to ignore, bro.
You know who the vibes were good on last year? Tank Bigsby.
I don't know, man.
I
didn't think the vibes were that good on Tank Bigsby, but you're right that there were.
There's a lot of regret. Actually,
the vibes are good right now on Tank Bigsby. Actually,
they want to get him involved this year.
Yeah,
they got to get Tank Bigsby going.
Sean wants to know, like, Eckler not going to be an impact on B-Rob. No, I think Eckler's just cooked.
I think he'll play. I don't know why he would, like, Antonio Gibson played a lot last year.
Yeah, he plays the Antonio Gibson role. He just takes 60% of the routes or whatever, and that's not a big impact.
That'd be. I'd be surprised.
All right, we're
a bigger role than.
Let's make this pick here
rapid fire and then.
Yes.
Like
these are all late round.
Let's just each say a name and then we'll pick one. I mean, you guys wanted Lloyd. Let's do Lloyd here. That's totally fine.
All right, we'll do Lloyd here. Like, at this point, when you're getting into that 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, you're kind of just looking for as much upside as you can get. And then for me, normally, like, if we were to talk about a normal board where we don't get like two absolute steal quarterbacks, like, I'm taking a low quarter, like I'm taking an Aaron Rodgers, I'm taking the Daniel Jones in these spots, because usually I'm waiting to push that third QB button. But let's we pick this round. Jacob, your favorite pick here.
Mostert, because we still need a starting running back.
Oh, Mostert. See, I would be Gus here, but
I would prefer the guy who just scored 22 touchdowns.
Yeah, we know that's not happening again. The running back efficiency in that
Can we get 21?
No, he's gonna get maybe 10. Let's be real.
Okay.
Ryan, all you.
What's wide receiver?
Show me the wide receivers first, because that
Quentin Johnston, baby.
Oh, that got gross.
Oh well, gee, I wonder who we're gonna take.
Baby.
We can just
Dontavian Wicks. Not getting him with that spot. Burton also would have been a great call here. Also another guy you're usually not going to get. We do get kickers going off the board because this is a sleeper ADP. So a lot of kickers being drafted here. But for us, we're looking for. For us, we're looking at upside. I'm taking Javon Baker because we have Drake May. I want to correlate here a little bit like these best ball bros. So we are. Defense is going off the board. For all you guys still somehow playing defenses and kickers.
Jacob, I want to ask you: do you have conviction on a specific Patriots wide receiver, whether it's Baker or Paul? Okay, me neither. Just
I draft Douglas too.
Yeah, I do too.
So let's fight to the death. For me, it's Bucky Irving.
I vote Kamani Vidal.
Ugh, gross. Ryan?
I'll go Vidal as well.
Interesting. No love for Bucky Irving at all. Even after Tampa Bay's just been throwing Rachaad White under the bus since training camp started.
I have love for Bucky Irving. I think it's I like Vidal a little more.
I think the Vidal thing, like, he's a super late round running back. Sure. And I think Gus Edwards is a better running back than people want to give him actual credit for.
He's your Brian Robinson.
He does exactly what Greg Roman himself wants him to do. And in that offense, he's just built for it. Goal line touches up the ass. Like it just, I should say out the ass, not up the ass.
Do you think a lot of his success was really, like, I mean, because I have my take, but you watch the team even more than I do. Like, I credit Lamar for a lot of Gus Edwards' efficiency.
But they're going to use that off. Like, Greg Roman doesn't change his offense. We know this.
No.
Justin Herbert, seeing as I'm wearing a Chargers uniform, shout out LT. Herbert is athletic enough to still make a difference on the ground, to operate that system in a very Tyrod Taylor fashion, which is still going to help out the running game on a team that might carry the ball 600 times this year. Like Herbert getting 150 attempts is like, I don't know, skeptical in my mind, jokingly, of course. But I think Greg Roman quarterbacks get like 267 or like 337. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I think Gus Edwards does exactly the things that he's looking for, which is exactly why they brought him in, to be their hammer. Vidal's best bet is some injuries, which are very possible. But he's, again, a super late pick. People were already, and part of this is because people were already steaming up whatever running back went to the Chargers, and it just happened to be Vidal, and we got to victory lap that. But this is outlier of outlier, and it wouldn't even surprise me if a veteran running back gets cut and the Chargers just pick him up anyway. I think you're getting similar upside. I really like Bucky supplanting the Rachaad White throughout the year, like, because again, he's just a terribly inefficient running back, and Bucky is also a very good pass catcher. So I could definitely see if a running back that was in the top 10 is going to lose their role and kick them out of it this year, it's Rachaad White to me.
I don't buy the Bucky Irving thing, and
Interesting.
The reason is, if what is Bucky Irving's strength? It's pass catching. That, guess what? That is also Rachaad White's.
He's also a way
Like-
shiftier running back than Rachaad White possibly is, with way more burst and acceleration, and can still pass pro. Like the perfect slant.
If Rachaad White does something that's above average for an NFL running back, it
Does that
is
very well.
it is the pass catching stuff, right?
Sure.
So
And he
I just have
pass protect a little
trouble.
bit. Buck, you can't.
Yeah, I just have trouble imagining a day 3 pick boxing him out of that role based on his pass catching.
But then
I'm
If-
fine
if-
with
like,
I'm fine with the Bucky
that's the
bet.
same-
Like,
that's
I'm
the
fine with the
same
Bucky
argument
bet,
as
I like
Vidal,
betting
though.
against Rachaad White, but I want to bet against Rachaad White. I also want to bet against Gus Edwards.
Right.
Can we
So
bet
to me, it's
against
just
James
who I-
Cook?
it's just-
We can
To
go
me, it's
Ray
just
Davis.
who I want to bet
I don't
on.
know.
I just like Vidal more as a player, so that's just who I want to bet on. Like if it was Vidal in Tampa and Bucky on the Chargers, I would be Vidal too. I want to bet against both these incumbents. I'm also fine with Ray Davis. That's different. I think James Cook is good, but I think Ray Davis is good and has a.
I think Ray Davis is a better back than James Cook, but I just think, like, if the argument is like, what does Bucky Irving do that Rachaad? What does Vidal do that Gus can't do? Like, it's the same. It's just the same kind of thing. So
Years
it'll
old
be like,
and washed.
he's
I don't
not
know.
even.
Yeah.
He's not even a million years old. I'm telling you. I'll just say this for people. I'm drafting an obscene, like, obviously your regular dynasty draft is going to be longer than 15 rounds, but I predicted this would go long. I'm putting as much Gus Edwards on my rosters for startable running back play week to week that I possibly can. And I'm just forgetting about it. Should he get hurt? I don't know, but like maybe J.K. Dobbins' legs finally don't explode and he gets 150 touches. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
But like Vidal, yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. I'm probably going to be wrong because when Jacob really loves a late round guy, I'm
right.
generally.
Like, I don't. No, you'll probably be right.
We'll go
Like,
Vidal.
Let's be clear.
We'll
The
break
most
it.
likely scenario is that Vidal and Bucky Irving are both answers to a trivia question in 3 years. Like
Yeah.
both these guys were probably.
Oh, you guys want to convert this to a league? Okay, look, let's discuss
Gus
this
Edwards,
team.
though. I mean, I know what's going to happen. It's going to be week 11, and I'll once again be sitting there on Sunday morning going through 15 different leagues, deciding which one of Gus Edwards or Deonta Foreman to put at RB2. Like that's just my annual tradition.
Rod Stewart says, just checked up on the intro. If you put a gun to my head and put a Canada geography sporkle
Ron Stewart
in front of me,
I would like to have me on the basement exclusively to do geography sporkle one night. There's nothing I want to do more.
Can you just call Annex the north part no one lives in?
That's like pretty racist to the Inuit people.
Shout out Ron Stewart, man. If you're not on his channel, subscribe to you. Absolutely should
Ron
be.
Stewart just wanted to
does
commit a
phenomenal
genocide
content.
against the Inuit.
Oh my god.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
look. When
American
we look at this,
wades into the Canadian geography
we got
and the
fucking-
Canadian cultural debates. He has no
We
idea.
got Ron Stewart just
Yeah.
fucking manifest destinying into Nunavut right now.
okay, so
James
obviously
K.
we
Fulton.
went with the pretty prototypical dynasty point start with the Kyler Murray, Jamar Chase start. A little bit of debate on Nico. what do you take away from a draft strategy like this? And in terms of like how to do the perfect draft, really, what does it come down to? Because we can say this room is as random as it gets because we don't know who we're drafting with if it's a bunch of people that we don't know. So let's get some thoughts on the final draft thing. I'm going to get us back to the other screen. If you want a shot at this draft board, head into the Fantasy Points Discord. I will pull the draft board for you. Just at me with hashtag Dynasty Points in the Discord, and we will talk that out throughout the week. I'm going to get us back to our regular look. We're going to do some final thoughts and possibly squeeze in this 5 for 5. So let's get ready for that. All right. For the perfect draft, you get a room that you are not familiar with. You're not sure who's going to be in it. I think we did everything we could, taking best player available. Really what it comes down to is playing your draft room. So let's get some final thoughts on drafting the potential perfect draft. I'll start with Ryan because Jacob's figured some stuff out here.
Sure. So yeah, I guess lessons that we take out of that draft we just did is take the value that falls to you. Just I think if I were to give one tip to anyone that's kind of new to Dynasty or really new to fantasy football, but especially Dynasty, it is check against your consensus ADP sources. They are not gospel, they're not always going to have all the correct player takes or anything. But if you're seeing stuff like Drake May falling multiple rounds past where everybody seems to value him in the consensus, then yeah, that's probably a good pick for you to make almost regardless of team context and what you've done up to that point. So long as you think you can make any sort of moves in this league, which I would hope you think that you can get one trade done in a league if you're joining the league. So yeah, that would just be my biggest tip. Always check against your consensus ADP sources and just be aware of what everyone else in the room is doing. Just follow the trends understand the trends and understand what you can do to respond to them.
Yeah, I love that. Jacob.
Great. That was great. It was eloquent. It was actionable. There's not much left. So I'll just say, be the draft you want to see in the world.
Make sure to be checking up on your Canadian geography while you're drafting, and you will have the best draft you possibly can. Oh, Canada. We have time for a 5 for 5. So what we're going to do, this is obviously the game where Jacob asks us 5 questions about 5 players. We have to get it right. Well, I have to get it right before Ryan does. So yeah. Let's break it down.
I won last week. Ron Stewart, by the way, the plural of Inuit is just Inuit. You don't need to go to Inuits.
I'm going to need a documentary. Oh my God. Also, shout out Dynastyland Football. Love the site, guys. Super practical and easy to use with great info. Much love to you, mate. We truly appreciate you. Go check out Dynastyland Football. All right, let's go. 5 for 5. Let's go, Jacob. What do we got today?
All right. Today, because we were doing the perfect draft, the overarching themes, if anyone is not aware, there's one theme that applies to all of these players, and then I give 5 clues. 5 points on the first, 4, 3, 2, 1, etc.
With some made-up values.
Tom has won once. Derek Brown has won once. Ryan, Heath, and Lucas are still sitting on 0. The chat has been very competitive, but is sitting on 0.
Chat's probably
rules for the people in the chat. Rules for the people in the chat. If you want to play along, play along. No looking it up. Okay. If you're going to guess, play fair. I'll let Tom and Ryan decide on whether or not to trust you guys in the chat. The theme for all of these is each of these players was drafted in the order of the questions. So the first player I read is a first overall pick. The second player I read is a second overall pick. The third player I read is a third overall pick, etc. Fourth overall and then fifth overall pick. Does that make sense?
Okay.
All right. So first clue, first player. This quarterback started 3 full seasons in college but his team only had a winning record in his last. And if people forget in the chat, you can always guess or you can not guess. If one guesses, the other person gets a free guess the next round before the other person gets to buzz in. We'll go 3, 2, 1. Fair enough. The first clues usually don't give you much.
No, that was insane.
This quarterback exited college as the leader in completions, yards, and attempts in Pac-10 history, as the conference was then called.
Pac-10.
I don't know when that changed. Oh my god.
The number 1 overall pick.
I have no idea.
The Pac-10, he started 3 years, winning record in the third one in the Pac-10. Who is the number 1 overall pick?
All right, we got
Pac-10. I think I have a guess. Can I make a guess?
Okay.
Marcus Mariota.
That is incorrect. Ryan, you want to use your guess now, or do you want to lock in first dibs in the next round?
I'll take first dibs in the next round.
All right.
I have no idea when it changed.
Third clue.
Back into 12, man.
Me, I'm just taking guesses here.
Third clue. In his third season, in his third NFL season, to be clear, this quarterback brought his team its first winning season in 15 years.
Oh,
I feel like that's a big clue.
It should be, but
so we got a record-setting Pac-10 quarterback, first overall pick. Didn't have a winning season until his third. First winning season in 15 years. We got Ryan. You have a free guess. I'm going to give you 10 seconds to come up with one. Otherwise.
Number 1 overall pick. That is brutally tough, dude.
Andrew Luck?
That is incorrect.
Can't be, because
I don't even
Peyton
know
Manning had a winning record in the first 15 years.
Right. You're right. It wasn't even that
Hey,
far.
it fit a lot of categories.
Wait, I mixed. I was thinking 3 years and 15. Yeah, I don't know.
And was the first overall pick from the Pac-10.
All right, you got 5 seconds. Here.
I'm out. I'll be
okay.
out.
Clue number 4. This quarterback's first playoff appearance ended with a gruesome injury, which led to new rules protecting quarterbacks from low hits.
Oh my god.
The rule was unofficially named after this player.
Oh my god.
You get first dibs on this, Tom. It's only Ryan guessed last round.
Oh my god. It's not Michael Vick, is it?
It is not Michael Vick.
Isn't it
Ryan, you got a guess
Vick
here?
Rule?
The rule was unofficially named after him. That should be a hint,
Oh,
but I can't think of it. I can't think of one.
God.
I don't know if I don't trust anything the chat.
You
the
can
chat
guess
has
first
some
next
Is
round
this-
if you want. You can guess first.
Okay,
next
I'll take.
round.
I'll take.
I
next
haven't.
round.
I have.
I'll
I
take
think.
next
I
round.
know.
All right.
I know.
Okay,
I
Ryan
think
gets
it's-
first guess, and then if he's wrong, Tom guesses. For 1 point, it took 17 years for this player's NFL team to once again pick a quarterback first overall. It took 21 years until this college produced another first overall quarterback, which happened this year.
That should have just given it to me, but I still have no idea.
Just to clarify that clue,
Can I go?
the college that this quarterback played at is the same college that
Carson
Williams
Palmer.
played at. There you go. That is
Okay.
correct.
First overall,
1
USC.
point
The
for
only other
Tom.
one I could think of was
Could not
Carson
have told you
Palmer.
where Carson Palmer went to school.
USC, baby. There was like a weird streak. It was like Carson Palmer, Matt
Harris,
Leinart.
by the way, got this after clue 3. So chat gets 3 points.
Oh
Tom
my
gets
god.
1
Oh
point.
my god.
Ryan gets 0 points.
We had some Jared Goffs. Baker was Oklahoma.
Yeah. There we go. All right. Player
All right,
number
here we
2.
go. Yep.
This player was the highest drafted from his school since Ernie Davis in 1962.
Pass.
Yeah, just pass.
Highest drafted from school. Okay.
Yeah, that was just really for fun.
You're unbelievable at this.
Well, look, I don't want to write 5 clues and only say 1. I'm obviously going to make the first 2 hard to guess.
Okay.
This player played for 3 teams, all of which were in the NFC. But the only team he played more than 1 season on was his first.
Drafted second overall.
Yeah, that's true.
Second overall. Played for 3 teams. Played,
The
not
only team he
started.
played for
one
one
season
season on was his first. So he played for one team and then
Oh, I had a
like-
guess, and then he played 2 years there. I'm pretty sure. Damn. Okay, I'm gonna pass here, but
yeah.
I'm gonna say, remind me to tell you who my guess was.
okay. This player, is this your favorite kind of clue, Tom? This player shares a name
Oh,
with singer of 60s musical hits such as Sunshine Superman and Mellow Yellow.
Shares a name. Okay.
Sunshine came softly in my window today. It'll take
oh
time.
my God.
to know it, 'cause I made my mind up.
Oh my God. I'm gonna pass. I'll
Keep in
pass here.
mind,
It's not
I'll
QBs
tell you
only.
right
It's just
now,
going 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
it's
Sean.
that. I will tell you, Sean, I only ever do fantasy eligible positions, so it'll only be quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends. But for first and second overall picks, a lot of quarterbacks. Okay, fourth clue. This player was heavily booed by fans of the team that drafted him, though he proved those fans wrong with 5 Pro Bowl appearances in his first 6 seasons.
Oh, so he was good. He was good.
Come on, heavily booed. This should have been a hammer the buzzer. Come on, people.
Heavily booed. There's some guys that I want to think about, but like, how many of them played for 3 different teams?
Yeah, that's the one that's getting me, because originally I was thinking, oh, maybe this is like a old school running back, went really high or something, and
number 2 overall,
kind of bounced around the league. But yeah, that doesn't
Pro
make
Bowls.
sense. Has to be a QB.
How many teams did that guy play for? Give me heavily booed. There's only a couple of fan bases that'll do that. I'm going to trust the chat here, and I'm going to go Donovan McNabb.
That is correct. You
Thank
get
you.
1 point, and the chat gets the other point.
Because I'm sitting here, I'm trying to think like what like teams boo their picks like that, and Philly that.
The story.
I didn't think of it.
I don't trust the chat ever now. But I started thinking like, how many brutal franchises do that to the players they pick, and it's Philly.
The mayor of Philadelphia, Ed Rendell, brought a group of fans known as the Dirty 30 to the draft. And they had all decided they wanted Ricky Williams. And they had been brought along to root on when Philly was expected to take Ricky Williams. They ended up taking Donovan McNabb. And everybody was very, very upset about that. Okay, Tom gets, he gets 2 points for that. I was just kidding. He's at 3. The chat is kicking ass here.
Chad is
going to be getting a win. It just depends on who.
Always beating.
By the way, Meatwad got that.
I was never competitive.
You guys are ass. Meatwad and the chat is at 7 points right now. So the chat at 7. You guys are.
You know what? I'm going to
Meatwad,
accuse you all of cheating, like I accused Derek Brown. Because when I'm losing in Call of Duty, I just immediately assume and say everyone is cheating. Chat is cheating.
Also, you guys don't know your Donovan. They call me Mellow Yellow.
No, I don't know my Donovans, Jacob.
You guys suck. All right. This player won the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award in 2016.
Third overall pick.
Yeah.
2016.
Third overall pick. I'm going to guess Drew Brees.
Incorrect.
Oh,
I'm glad we're guessing now.
I took a shot.
Okay.
Here.
I'm going to guess.
You know he was playing in 2016.
Yeah.
He was the third overall pick.
Jacob's just relentless.
Yep.
That's so funny.
You know he's a good Samaritan. And they know Jake Simpson.
Oh, God. Can you imagine if he would have won it?
Phillip Rivers?
Incorrect.
That's a good guess.
That is a good guess. This player, this is my favorite clue I wrote today. So hopefully someone gets it, but we'll see. This player was a ball boy for the Minnesota Vikings, his hometown team, as a child.
Larry
A
Fitzgerald.
team that was coached by the man who would later coach this player in the NFL, and that is correct. Tom needed no time to get through that question. That is Larry
I
Fitzgerald.
have seen that fucking clip on Twitter more times than I can count. This is Larry Fitzgerald as a ball boy for the Vikings.
There we go.
I have never seen that clip, so I'm on
what?
I'm on a different corner of Twitter somehow.
You're on the
Ryan,
like hardcore
yeah.
analytic Dontavian Wicks boosting part of Twitter. I'm on like I am on classic millennial boomer Twitter where it's just like old sports videos
you,
playing
Brian
all the
Ford.
time.
Someone knows 60s music around here. Brian Ford said he got the Donovan on the music clue. For the record, Ryan, I didn't even know that was a clip. I just the full clue was that the team he was the ball boy for was coached by the man who would later coach him in the NFL. So in theory, you could have sewn that together from a Dennis Green to Dennis Green. But Tom got it halfway through the clue being read. That was impressive. Tom is cleaning up. He's now at 7. The chat is also at 7. So he's tied.
Like
the
I
chat.
literally have this video bookmarked. There you go. I put it in the private chat.
Wow.
Fourth player.
I can finally
Ryan, you got to get it in gear here, buddy. This is where you got to start turning it around. Fourth player, 4th overall pick. This player was the second player at his position drafted from this school of the NFL. Sorry, I'll rephrase. Yeah. This player was the second player at his position drafted from his school in the top 5 of the NFL draft within a 5-year period.
Okay. 4th overall.
Okay, I think
I will shout out, by the way, Meatwad was pretty quick on the draw on Larry Fitzgerald too. I think Tom was faster, so that's why the chat doesn't get any points here, but he was darn quick as well. All right. So 4th overall pick. He was the second top 5 pick out of the school in a 5-year period at this position.
I'm having trouble thinking. I usually just go right to quarterbacks. I'm having trouble thinking of QBs who have gone 4th overall.
Drafted the second time in 5 years. I did not say it was a quarterback.
I know you didn't. I know.
Second time in 5 years a player from that school was drafted. I know there was a stark run on LSU wide receivers.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking too.
And knowing Jacob, I'm going to say Odell.
That is not correct.
And it was in a how many year period?
5-year period.
5-year.
Is it Jamar Chase?
It's not Jamar Chase.
Are we both tried LSU?
Was he 4th overall?
Chase was 5th overall.
Okay. Damn.
Overall in that draft.
Don't worry. Next clue.
During college, this player was sentenced to 8 days in prison for trespassing, but never served any time due to overcrowding in the Travis County jail.
Oh, where's Travis County? Now I need my American geography.
Here's the geography. Yes.
Ron, are you still here? I need you. Okay. I don't know this at all. Trespassing. 4th overall.
I would think that would be like this. I think that would stick.
I mean, ideally, this clue is basically the clue is if someone knows where Travis County is, then I'm giving away the college. And if someone doesn't, then just a guy who got in trouble a little in college.
Yeah,
that's really
weird. But I feel like that would be like a top 5 pick. I would think there would have been discourse about that. But I can't.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know.
After several tumultuous years with his first team, this player rejuvenated his career on his second NFL franchise with his first 1,000-yard season.
Reggie Bush.
That is incorrect, but pretty darn in the wheelhouse.
1,000.
Boy, I really thought that was the shit. I don't know where Travis County is. I don't know where Travis County is. Oh, I should get half a point for a good guess.
It wasn't a good guess. Ryan, free guess.
He's freezing up.
His career on his second team.
For some reason, I wanted to say no. He wasn't top 5. No, I've
already guessed.
It's a stupid guess and it's obviously wrong. I wanted to say Corey Davis, but the multiple one's going top 5 from that school.
No one from West.
Wait a minute.
All right. Next clue. Despite over 6,000 career rushing yards, this player never averaged above 4.2 yards per carry. And you know what? I'll add a bonus clue. 4.2, somewhat of a meaningful number for him with some of his off-field activities.
Do I get to guess?
Yeah.
Ricky Williams.
That is incorrect, but interestingly close.
Come on! Those are two elite guesses.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not gonna get this one.
this is insane.
All right, this is a good clue. Here we go. Final clue. This player only played on 2 NFL teams. The first letter of both those teams' city and name are the same, as are this player's own initials. So the initials of the city and then the name of both his teams are the same, as are his own initials.
But they're not all three are the same letter. They're just the same.
His
within.
first 1,000-yard
same
season.
sequence of initials. So, for instance, if I played for the Amsterdam Angels, and then I played for the Antwerp, something with A, and then my name was Adam Anderson.
Oh, so they all match. Okay.
No, they don't all match, but the two match. Like, each pair matches.
I understand
each
what you're
pair
saying.
matches.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be like YZ, YZ, YZ.
I still get to guess, or did Ryan guess last round?
I think you both guessed, so I think anybody can guess.
So I'm gonna go away from running back, and I'm just trying to think of players that had issues with weed now, and I'm gonna say Justin Blackman.
I will remind everyone that the fourth clue was about his 1,000-yard rushing season and
Oh,
his 4.2
shit.
yards per carry.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. I'm trying to.
It was not.
I'm just trying to think of players who were fucked by.
Ryan, come on, buddy.
The initials
all yours.
are like
The
stunning.
I forgot about the rushing gimmick.
I'm just thinking about city names.
Yeah, I'm gonna recap. I'm gonna recap
completely
everything while you
stunlocking
think.
me.
Okay, we got the fourth overall pick. There was the same player at the same school, drafted 5 years prior in the top 5. He played for 2 NFL teams. Initials match his initials. He rushed for 6,000 career yards. Only had a top of 4.2 yards per carry. He didn't have 1,000 yards in a single season with his first team. He rejuvenated his career with his second team.
Okay.
Come on, Ryan.
Damn.
I can't even figure out what the 2 cities are, what the 2 teams are. Like, that's what I'm focused on. Maybe that's not what I should be focused on.
That's a good way to focus
but
it.
I can't even.
All right.
My brain can't wrap itself around.
Meatwad pulls ahead. He got this a while ago. It's Cedric Benson.
Damn, I wouldn't have guessed that at all.
Chicago Bears, Cincinnati Bengals.
Cedric Benson.
Okay.
Damn.
I was thinking like
shout out
Dallas
Meatwad, man.
Cowboys, DC,
the funny
or
thing about
I
the Ricky
didn't know what I
Williams
was
guess
doing.
is Ricky Williams, of course, was the other Texas running back within the 5-year period that went in the top 5.
Damn.
So you were all over it.
Damn. Close.
Ferris forgot
Close,
that he was the 4th overall pick of his favorite team.
That is terrible. I would honestly, Ferris, I'd want to forget that too. One more question. Let's get this done.
All right, one more question. The chat is at 8, Tom's at 7, Ryan's at 0. Luckily, it's double points. So if Ryan can get this on clue number 2, he could make a comeback. All right. This player rushed for over 1,000 yards in his rookie season in the NFL and never did it again.
5th overall. 1,000 yards.
God!
Never did it again.
Name? Oh my God! What's his name?
He's stalling for the chat.
No,
count him down, Jacob.
I will be complete. I have not looked at chat this entire.
Start the
I know
count.
you haven't looked at the chat because Cedric Benson was very publicly sad while you were trying to do team.
I've not.
Your honesty is not questioned. Your honesty is not questioned.
God.
All right.
I'll take a guess. Trent Richardson.
Go for it. Incorrect, but a very good guess.
Okay, I'll wait
Third
now.
overall pick,
I'll wait now. I get the first crack here.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna switch the order of the clues because this one I don't think Ryan's gonna get, and I need to give him somewhat of a chance here. So.
Come on! Come on!
All right. You think we don't draft running backs highly anymore? How about drafting 2 running backs from the same college team in the same top 5 in the same year, like this back and his SEC teammate?
That doesn't help me. Just I'm still thinking about the first clue.
2 backs.
This can only have happened once.
Same
unreal,
college.
Same college team, same draft year. They both go top 5.
Oh my God. They both go top 5. 2 running backs.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm out. I have no idea. That's insane.
I can't think of anything that
All
would
right.
fit that.
That's insane.
Man.
All
I
right,
feel like
we're
gonna play that.
so it's hard because the better the clues you give, the more certain I am that I don't have any guess that fits everything. So I just sit here feeling like I'm not participating, but I'm
Okay.
trying very hard. I just can't.
Okay, let's go.
I can't do
This
this
player was the first in NFL history to rush for 100 yards in a game in his first 3 NFL games.
I'm looking at the chat now. They're not really helpful though.
Okay. Man, this is absolutely blowing my mind. Drafted 5th overall. This has got to be like an Alabama back, right? This has got to be like some obscure, insane pick. This has got to be an Alabama thing, I would imagine. This isn't like a Mark Ingram.
Why don't you someday we got to get someone to write these clues. I think I would fucking kill you guys.
Is this a Mark Ingram?
It's not Mark Ingram. Ryan, you got anything? Otherwise, we got 2 clues left.
I'm not gonna like just read out the guesses from the chat because that's
All right. Fair
I mean,
enough,
I've won this already.
Okay.
So-
Yes. Well, the chat I think might be a contention.
The chat is not on the show, and they're all cheating.
Okay. This player played all but his last season in the NFL for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Cadillac Williams. I'm going to go with Meatwad.
There you go. Meatwad
was right. I'm sorry I doubted you.
For Meatwad. He got it within 1 second. Absolutely sick performance from Meatwad.
Meatwad, if you are
points
not
to chat, 8 points to Tom, 0 points to Ryan.
Meatwad, if you are in the Fantasy Points Discord,
Meatwad, can you come on the show next week for this?
tag me in the Discord, and we'll get you set up with something because this was an absolute display tonight.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to get Meatwad set up with 2 things. I want us to get him a prize, and then I want to send him the link to the show, and he can join and play against us next week.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I will say,
Meatwad, hook. Send me some information, and we'll talk, and we'll see if we can get that set it out.
There are no 20 minutes in my week when I feel like I know less ball than during this segment.
Then 5 for
Right,
5.
okay, here's what you got to do, buddy. Here's what you got to do. You got to be looking up a lot of 2000 to 2010 players and where they went to college. That's how you got to spend your week. You just got to
tell Scott writing these
you got to go on
groundbreaking
Wikipedia and you got to be like, let's look up 2004 running backs. Where did they go to college? How about 2005 running backs?
Well,
my knowledge of the NFL pre 2012, 2013, practically non-existent. That's just huge. And especially when we go to college, I can't, man. I don't know.
I didn't know Lucas wasn't going to be there tonight. I like to throw in the college stuff for Lucas sometimes too, but I will try to do a little bit better of an alternation between some weeks. We'll be a little bit more on the on that era. Some weeks will be a little bit newer. The only issue is if I go newer, the clues have to be way more obscure because then it's just way too easy.
Yo, these old ones.
I feel like I
obscure,
can do who was the 4th string running back on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2017 in the first half of I feel like I have a way better chance at that than I do really old stuff.
Either Meatwad is telling the truth, which I believe. If he wasn't, he geniusly guessed wrong on the first question so that I wouldn't assume he was cheating for the rest of the round. He just jumped in with the immediate Jared Goff right away. And I was like, oh, he's not cheating. And so if that was calculated, honestly, even more impressive. But I think he was trying to be legit. That was Doug Martin there, Ferris.
I love 5 for 5, man. This is the new hottest game.
1 win for the chat.
In
I'm
Dynasty.
You both a win. You both a win.
Well, I got 2 wins, baby.
1 chat, 1 Derek Brown.
The only host of the show with a dub or a chance, baby. I'm showing my age. My age matters in this game. I love it.
Next week it's gonna be like all just like reading out like the targets per route run of players in 2023. Yeah. And Ryan's gonna just
keep DeAndre Hopkins air yards. Yeah.
It's gonna be like this player had a 0.479 whopper.
Oh, Brian, you have no idea. I obviously can't do it the first time I get to do it, but although Jacob's heard all my Larry Centers statistics.
One of these weeks we'll put Tom in the
I can't for the 5 for 5. Look, I can't actually use Larry Centers because Jacob knows that's like one of the first ones. Like but here's a fun fact about Larry Centers, who was a fullback. Larry Centers finished his career with more receptions than Steve Largent, Shannon Sharp, Keyshawn Johnson, Roddy White, Marshall Faulk, Chad Johnson, James Lofton, Eric Moulds, currently has more than Mike Evans and had more receptions than Michael Irvin in his career. He was a fullback. More people should know about Larry Centers. He was the absolute GOAT. He would have been a PPR cheat code. Larry Centers is what Greg Roman wanted Patrick Ricard to be. He just wasn't. So shout out Greg Roman. Final thoughts. Also, how do I join the Discord? I am a noob. If you're on Twitter, you can send me a DM at El Nostradamus, or it is on the website. It will be on the website. Get in touch with me one way or the other. Let's get some final thoughts on doing the perfect draft. Shout out for everyone for hanging out with us. You're all fucking goats. 2 hours and 10 minutes. This is going to be fun to edit.
Also, Brian, I am 24, so you're 5 years off there. But when I say I know nothing about the NFL before 2013, I was 13 years old in 2013. That's like when we become conscious. I feel like.
Well, I think Billy used to be the butt end of that.
I started playing Madden in I think 2004, and that's
good year.
So that's like right in my wheelhouse, where it's just like anyone who had like. That early Madden era, like I still, in my mind, when I think of Steven Jackson, I still think of him as like with the big like blue. This is when they had these icons that were like really corny.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a big blue future star icon, and it was like him and Willie Parker. We're just breaking into the league.
Fast Willie Parker, baby. Hey, if you played Madden 2004, you remember my dog Brian Finneran on the Atlanta Falcons with Michael Vick, because you could always run out to the left and check it off to Finneran running the crossing route from the right side. Cheat code. Baby. We should do a little Madden trivia one night. This is going to be a great time.
So my earliest Madden was Madden 08, and I believe
the last great Madden.
The only thing I did in that video game was just hold the Randy Moss button every single time.
Oh, Vince Young on the cover, baby.
All I did.
Vince Young.
I had a Madden clue today, by the way, but we didn't get to say it because Tom nailed Larry Fitzgerald on.
What was it? What was it?
It was I had a lot of good Larry Fitzgerald clues. Clue 3 was going to be this player went to college at the school which shares the stadium with the team that beat him in the Super Bowl, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers at Crisher Stadium. And the last clue was this player was one half of the Madden cover in 2010, fresh off of the most entertaining Super Bowl of all time. So that was of course
nice.
Larry Fitzgerald.
What a crushing loss in that Super Bowl for the Cardinals. They've never recovered fully. Let's get final thoughts and actually get out of here. Jacob?
Yeah. Final thoughts is that Ryan needs to spend a lot of time on NFL Wikipedia tonight. That's my final thought.
Yeah.
Fair. Ryan?
He needs to learn to play, so to speak.
Yeah, my only thought as well. I gotta start doing my homework, coming prepared for these games.
Ryan, would you say that you've been pwned by Tom so far?
And
how would you quantify the degree of pwnage?
I would say I've been pwned, but I'm too young for that to have ever been a word that I used when I was on the
You're
internet.
3 years younger
So-
than me. You're telling me that pwned expired directly.
Pwned was in
after
like
me?
2008. I don't think I was allowed to be online in 2008.
You were playing Madden in 2008. You weren't playing online?
No.
Oh
was
my
like-
God.
My household was like, you can play an hour of video games or whatever, but you can't be connected to the internet. We were real Luddites there for a little bit.
Well,
you were
I
pwned
guess-
by your parents.
I was, yes.
Not a problem for me as I'm adopted, so I got to play all the Madden I wanted to. Okay, look, my final thoughts are no two drafts are the same. And you have to remember that you have to go in there completely open-minded, not knowing what you are going to get. I will also say this, that you need to be subscribed if you're not, because there's no Dynasty show on the market that does it the way that we do.
Put up Ryan's comment. Ryan simmed all games and crunched the resulting stats.
That's it. He's doing Run the Sims before they were.
I'm like ugly laughing right now. Oh
I
my
love
God.
this show so goddamn
Oh my
much. And we couldn't do it without all of you. We have a great time doing this every week. This is what I look forward to the most. And we wouldn't be here without you. Remember to check in on your loved ones, even if you're not sure that they need it. Remember that clear eyes, full hearts can never lose, and your best days are always spent tilting. Good night, everyone.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.